The village of Konoha bathed in the soft glow of dusk, its streets slowly becoming less crowded as people returned to their homes after a long day. Naruto Uzumaki, however, found no solace in the familiar sights. Instead, his mind swirled with bitterness and loneliness, emotions that had plagued him for as long as he could remember. At 12 years old, Naruto was accustomed to the villagers' cold stares, their whispers, and their avoidance. Ever since the Nine Tails attack 12 years ago, he had been the outcast, the monster of the village. But lately, that loneliness was gnawing at him harder than usual. No matter how loud he was, no matter how many pranks he pulled, no one saw him for who he really was. Why does no one care? Naruto muttered under his breath as he walked down an alleyway, heading toward his small, dingy apartment. His hands balled into fists. Why can't I be like them? The empty street stretched before him, and the silence was comforting, though brief. Hey, there he is. A rough voice called from behind. Naruto's heart sank. He didn't even have to turn around to know who it was. A group of local villagers had taken it upon themselves to keep reminding Naruto that he was unwelcome, despite the third Hokage's orders to leave him be. Great. Naruto muttered, his body tensing. Just what I need. The group, led by an older man with a scar running across his cheek, quickly closed the distance. You think you can just walk around like you're one of us? Huh? The man sneered. You monster. I didn't do anything. Naruto snapped, turning around. Like hell you didn't. Every day you're just a reminder of what that demon did to our families. Maybe it's time someone taught you a lesson, the man said, stepping forward, cracking his knuckles menacingly. Naruto's eyes widened. He knew they were serious. He'd been roughed up before. But this time something felt different. A primal instinct screamed at him to run. But a deeper anger held him in place. Why did he have to be the one to run? Why did they always treat him like this? Before Naruto could react, the man swung his fist. The blow connected with Naruto's cheek, sending him sprawling to the ground. Stay down, demon. Someone else yelled, kicking him in the side. Naruto's world became a blur of pain and fear. But even as the blows rained down on him, something began to stir deep inside him. A dark, pulsating energy. The Nine Tails, sealed within Naruto since his birth, growled in its cage. You weak brat. Kurama's voice echoed in Naruto's subconscious, dripping with disdain. You let them do this to you? Pathetic. Naruto gritted his teeth, trying to push the voice away. But something else was rising within him. Something foreign. Unlike Kurama's malicious energy, this force was raw and untamed. But it felt different. Get away. Naruto's voice echoed in the alley, a deep, otherworldly resonance vibrating the air around him. The villagers stumbled back, their faces pale with terror. What the hell? The scarred man muttered, eyes wide. Naruto staggered to his feet, his body trembling. Not just from pain, but from something more. His skin began to tingle, and a sharp sensation shot through his limbs. His heart pounded harder and harder until it felt like it would explode. In an instant, Naruto's body underwent a terrifying transformation. His skin turned a dark, stone-like gray. His hands elongated into clawed appendages, and his height shot up, muscles bulging unnaturally. But what stood out the most was his face. A monstrous mask of bone-like material grew over it, giving him a kaiju-like appearance. The transformation was fast and violent. Naruto felt the power coursing through him. An overwhelming force that made his entire body buzz with energy. He looked down at his hands, now massive claws, and a horrifying realization hit him. He had become something else. Something monstrous. The villagers, seeing the monstrous form before them, screamed and ran in terror. What is this? Naruto whispered, his voice now deep and distorted. His mind struggled to process the transformation. It was as if his body had been invaded by another force. But at the same time, it felt natural, like this power had always been there, lying dormant. He took a step forward, his heavy footfall cracking the ground beneath him. Panic surged through him. He didn't want to be a monster. He didn't want to hurt anyone. No. Naruto screamed, slamming his fist into the wall of a nearby building. The stone shattered like glass under the force of the blow, sending debris flying everywhere. Naruto stood there, chest heaving, his monstrous form hulking over the ruins. Suddenly, he felt a familiar presence. Naruto. A voice shouted from the rooftops. It was Iruka Amino, Naruto's teacher and one of the few people who ever showed him kindness. Sensei. Naruto turned, his voice strained, fighting to remain in control of his monstrous form. Help me, I don't know what's happening. Iruka's eyes widened in shock as he took in Naruto's transformed state. But even in his surprise, he saw the pain and confusion in Naruto's eyes. He wasn't looking at a monster. He was looking at a boy terrified of what he had become. Naruto. Listen to me, Iruka said slowly, his hands raised in a placating gesture. I know you're scared, but you need to calm down. You need to focus on my voice. Okay? Naruto nodded, though his body continued to tremble. I can't control it. Inside Naruto, Kurama watched with curiosity. This new power was not his doing. It was something else. Something alien. He had sensed it stirring within Naruto before but hadn't paid it much mind. Now, though, the power had surfaced. As Naruto struggled to calm himself, the monstrous form began to recede. The claws shortened, the stone-like skin faded back to his normal complexion, and the bone mask cracked and fell away. Within moments, Naruto was back to his usual self, panting heavily, his body drenched in sweat. Iruka quickly rushed to his side, checking him for injuries. Naruto, are you okay? Naruto looked up at him, his face pale. What was that? I don't know, Iruka admitted, his voice calm but concerned. But we're going to figure it out. I'll take you to the Hokage. He'll know what to do. Naruto nodded weakly, still shaken by the experience. As they walked toward the Hokage's office, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just changed forever. Something inside him had awakened, something terrifying and powerful, and he had no idea how to control it. At the Hokage's office, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, listened intently as Naruto and Iruka explained what had happened. The old man's face remained unreadable as he processed the information. This power you describe, Hiruzen said slowly, stroking his beard. It doesn't sound like the Nine Tails. This is something new. Naruto shifted uncomfortably in his seat, still feeling the lingering effects of the transformation. Am I turning into some kind of monster? Hiruzen's gaze softened. No, Naruto. You're not a monster. You are a shinobi of Konoha. And whatever this power is, we will help you understand it. But until then, we need to monitor you closely. This power, if not controlled, could be dangerous. Naruto nodded, though the fear still gnawed at him. He didn't want to hurt anyone. But a part of him, the part that had felt the rush of that power, couldn't help but wonder what else he was capable of. As he left the Hokage's office that night, Naruto's mind was a storm of emotions. He had always wanted to be noticed, to be acknowledged by the village. But now, with this power awakening inside him, he wasn't sure if he wanted that attention anymore. Whatever this power was, it wasn't just about strength, it was about control. And Naruto was determined to master it. No matter what. Naruto trudged through the quiet streets of Konoha, the moon casting a pale glow over the village. His mind was still swirling from the events of the day. He felt exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But sleep seemed like an impossible task with everything that had just happened. The monstrous transformation, the power coursing through him. It was all too much. As he reached his apartment, Naruto slumped onto his bed, staring at the cracked ceiling above. He closed his eyes, trying to block out the world. But every time he did, he saw flashes of that dark power, his body warping into something unrecognizable. What's wrong with me? Naruto muttered, gripping the sheets tightly. Inside his mind, in the depths of the seal that held Kurama, the Nine Tails stirred, its fiery eyes narrowing. You think this is about you, boy? Kurama's voice rumbled through Naruto's subconscious. That power you awakened, it's something beyond you. Something ancient. And it's not mine. Naruto sat up, startled by the sudden intrusion of Kurama's voice. What do you mean? It's not yours. Naruto asked, focusing inward. Kurama's massive form loomed behind the bars of his cage, its tail swishing slowly in the darkness. "You may be my jailer," Kurama said, his voice low and dangerous. "But even I can sense when something foreign enters your body. Whatever it is. It's not chakra. It's something else, more primal. Be careful, Naruto. That power could destroy you if you're not careful." Naruto swallowed hard. Kurama wasn't exactly known for giving him advice. And if the Nine Tails was warning him, then whatever he had tapped into was serious. "Do you know where it came from?" Naruto asked. Kurama narrowed his eyes further, his fangs gleaming in the dim light of his cage. "I don't. But don't expect me to help you figure it out. You've survived this long on your own. Haven't you? Besides, you're not worthy of my power, let alone something as volatile as this." Naruto clenched his fists. "I didn't ask for any of this." The Nine Tails snorted, its hot breath filling the air. "Of course you didn't. That's the thing about power. It finds you when you least expect it. And it changes you, whether you like it or not." Naruto felt a chill run down his spine as Kurama's words echoed in his mind. He had always dreamed of becoming stronger, of being acknowledged. But now, this power didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a curse. "Just stay out of my way," Naruto growled, pushing Kurama's voice aside as he returned to the present. The next day, Naruto woke up with a start. He had no recollection of falling asleep. But the early morning sunlight streaming through his window brought him out of his restless slumber. For a moment, he lay there, feeling normal again. Just Naruto Uzumaki, the prankster, the class clown. But the memory of the previous night hit him hard. He glanced at his hands, half expecting to see the monstrous claws again. But they were normal. Still, that strange sensation, the energy that had coursed through him, lingered beneath the surface, as if waiting for the right moment to resurface. With a sigh, Naruto got dressed and left his apartment. He needed answers, and the only person who might have them was the third Hokage. As he made his way toward the Hokage tower, Naruto noticed the stairs. It wasn't unusual for people to glance his way and then quickly avert their eyes. But today it felt different. They weren't just ignoring him, they were watching him, whispering. Had word already spread about what had happened? About the monster he had turned into? He quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest. When he finally reached the Hokage's office, Iruka was already waiting outside. "Hey, Naruto." Iruka greeted him with a tired smile. "I've already spoken to Lord Hokage. He's ready to see you." Naruto nodded, his throat dry. "Thanks, Iruka-sensei." Together, they entered the Hokage's office. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, sat behind his desk, his expression as calm and composed as always, though his eyes betrayed a hint of concern. Behind him, a wall of portraits of the previous Hokage loomed, a reminder of the village's legacy and the weight of responsibility that came with it. "Good morning, Naruto," Hiruzen greeted him, his voice steady. "I understand that you've been through quite the ordeal." Naruto shuffled awkwardly, unsure of how to begin. "Yeah. Something happened to me last night. I don't know what it was, but I turned into something else." Hiruzen leaned forward, his hands clasped on the desk. "Iruka has told me what he witnessed. This transformation you experienced, it doesn't seem to be related to the Nine Tails, though it's certainly concerning." Naruto bit his lip. "Do you know what it is, old man?" Hiruzen shook his head. "I'm afraid I've never seen anything like it. But I've sent for the village's top medics and researchers to examine you. Whatever this power is, we need to understand it before it causes any harm." Naruto's heart sank. He didn't like the idea of being poked and prodded like some kind of experiment. But what choice did he have? "I don't want to hurt anyone," Naruto said quietly. "I don't want to be a monster." Hiruzen's gaze softened. "You are not a monster, Naruto. You're a young boy with incredible potential. And whatever this power is, it doesn't define you. We will figure this out together." Naruto nodded, though his anxiety still gnawed at him. He didn't fully believe the Hokage's reassurances. Not yet. Several hours later, Naruto found himself lying on a cold examination table in the village's medical center. Tsunade, one of the most renowned medical ninjas in the world, had returned to Konoha for this special request. She was skeptical at first, thinking it was just another case of chakra overuse. But when she heard the full details, she agreed to examine Naruto personally. Tsunade stood beside him, her sharp eyes scanning the results of the tests she had run. Her assistant, Shizune, was preparing more equipment on the side. Naruto fidgeted under the intense scrutiny. So, what's the verdict? Tsunade didn't answer right away. She continued to analyze the chakra network diagram on the screen in front of her, her brow furrowed in concentration. Well, Naruto pressed, impatience creeping into his voice. Tsunade sighed and turned to face him. Your chakra network is stable, and there's no sign of any external tampering. However, she paused, her eyes narrowing. There is an anomaly. Something beyond your normal chakra reserves is lying dormant inside you. Whatever this power is, it's not chakra-based. It's something else entirely. Naruto sat up, alarmed. What does that mean? It means, Tsunade said carefully, that you're carrying a foreign energy inside you. It might be connected to your body's biology, or it might have something to do with the 9 tails. But it's not from this world. Naruto's mind raced. A foreign energy? Not from this world. What could that possibly mean? Tsunade studied him for a moment before continuing. Whatever this power is, it's latent for now. But the transformation you described, it's not going to be a one-time thing. The next time you're in danger, it could trigger again. And if it does, you need to be prepared to control it. Naruto swallowed hard. Control it? He could barely stop it from taking over the first time. How was he supposed to manage it when it happened again? Tsunade crossed her arms, her expression softening just a little. Look, kid, I've seen my fair share of strange things. And this is up there with the weirdest. But I'll be keeping an eye on you. And we'll figure this out. Just don't go picking any fights. Alright? Naruto chuckled nervously. Yeah, I'll try. But deep down, he knew it wouldn't be that simple. Whatever this power was, it wasn't going to wait for him to figure things out. And if it came back stronger, Naruto had no idea if he'd be able to control it, or if it would consume him completely. The days following Naruto's medical examination passed in a tense blur. Konoha was still bustling as usual. But for Naruto, everything felt off. He tried to go back to his regular routine. But the strange, monstrous power lurking beneath his skin made it impossible to focus. Training with his fellow academy students became increasingly difficult. Every time he tried to concentrate on a jutsu, that dark energy threatened to bubble up again. It was as if his body no longer responded to his commands the way it used to. Sparring with Sasuke had become particularly unbearable. Not because Sasuke was his rival, he always was. But because Naruto could sense something dangerous stirring inside him whenever their fights escalated. The usual frustration he felt when Sasuke's smug superiority got the better of him had now turned into something darker. A hunger to dominate. To overpower him completely. Naruto feared what would happen if that strange energy overtook him in a moment of rage. After a particularly intense training session one afternoon, Naruto sat alone at the edge of the training grounds. His arms draped over his knees. The others were still practicing their techniques. But he couldn't bring himself to join them. A familiar voice snapped him out of his brooding thoughts. Oi, Naruto. Sakura approached, hands on her hips, looking as annoyed as ever. What's up with you lately? You've been acting weird. Naruto forced a grin, scratching the back of his head. Weird? Nah. I'm fine. Just tired, I guess. Sakura narrowed her eyes. Tired? Since when do you get tired of training? You're the one who's always pushing us to do more. Naruto's smile faltered. She wasn't wrong. Training had always been his escape, the one thing that kept his mind off the loneliness. But now, with this new power lurking inside him, it felt like a ticking time bomb. Listen, Sakura, it's nothing, Naruto muttered, standing up. I just need to clear my head. Okay. Before she could press further, he turned and walked away, leaving Sakura frowning behind him. That night, Naruto found himself in the familiar silence of his apartment. The small space felt even more cramped than usual, like the walls were closing in. He glanced around, his eyes falling on the cracked mirror hanging on the wall. Slowly, he approached it, staring at his reflection. Who am I even kidding? He whispered to himself. I'm not the same anymore. He leaned closer to the mirror, searching his own eyes for something familiar. Instead, a flash of that monstrous form, a brief flicker of glowing, insect-like eyes, seemed to stare back at him. Naruto recoiled in shock, stumbling back. He blinked, and the vision was gone. His own blue eyes stared back at him, but the unsettling feeling didn't fade. Without warning, the voice of Kurama echoed in his mind, amused but menacing. You're breaking. Brat. That power is itching to be unleashed. Naruto clenched his fists. Shut up. Kurama. I'm not going to lose control. The Nine Tails let out a deep, mocking laugh. It's only a matter of time. You can't keep this hidden forever. Naruto gritted his teeth. Kurama was right. He couldn't keep pretending nothing had changed. This power wasn't going to stay dormant, and the longer he ignored it, the more dangerous it would become. But what was he supposed to do? Who could he even turn to? Suddenly, a thought crossed his mind. Jiraiya. The old pervy sage was the only one who might know what was happening. He had traveled the world, learned more jutsu and secrets than anyone in Konoha. If anyone could help him understand this strange power, it was him. Determined, Naruto made up his mind. He would track down Jiraiya, no matter what it took. The next morning, Naruto wasted no time. He headed straight to the Hokage's office, hoping to get permission to leave the village and search for Jiraiya. But when he arrived, Tsunade was already there, waiting for him. So, you've decided to face this head-on? Huh? Tsunade asked, her arms crossed. She had a sharp look in her eyes, as if she had already anticipated his request. Naruto blinked, caught off guard. You knew I was coming? Tsunade smirked. I figured you'd want answers sooner rather than later. The Hokage told me you might be interested in leaving the village for a while to find Jiraiya. Naruto's heart leapt. Yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. He'll know what this power is. Right? He can help me figure it out. Tsunade's expression softened, but there was a seriousness in her tone. Jiraiya is well versed in many things, Naruto. But even he might not fully understand what's happening to you. This power, whatever it is, doesn't seem to follow any of the rules we're familiar with. It's not chakra-based, and it's not from any bloodline limit we know of. Naruto frowned. So what do I do? Tsunade sighed. For now, I'll allow you to leave the village to find Jiraiya. But you need to be careful, Naruto. Whatever this power is, it's dangerous. And if you lose control, you could end up hurting the people you care about. Naruto's determination wavered for a moment, but he quickly shook his head, steeling himself. I won't let that happen. I'll control this power, no matter what. Tsunade nodded. Good. I'll notify the Hokage of your departure. Be ready to leave by tomorrow morning. Naruto felt a surge of relief. Finally, he had a plan. Maybe Jiraiya could help him make sense of this chaos. The next morning, Naruto was up before dawn, his backpack slung over his shoulder as he made his way to the village gates. He hadn't told anyone about his departure, not even Sakura or Sasuke. The fewer people who knew, the better. He didn't want anyone worrying, or worse, following him. As he approached the gates, he saw Iruka waiting for him. Naruto's heart warmed at the sight of his old sensei. You really think you're going to find answers out there? Iruka asked, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Naruto grinned. Of course. I'm going to get stronger and figure out this whole power thing. Iruka sighed, ruffling Naruto's hair. Just be careful. Okay. You've already got enough on your plate with the Nine Tails. Don't go picking up more trouble. Naruto chuckled. I'll try. But you know me, I'm kind of a magnet for trouble. Iruka shook his head, amused. Yeah, I know. But you've got a good heart, Naruto. Don't lose sight of that. No matter how much power you get. Naruto nodded, his grin fading into a more serious expression. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. I'll be back before you know it. With that, Naruto turned and left the village, the early morning sun rising behind him. His heart pounded with anticipation, and though he was nervous about what he might find, he knew he couldn't back down now. Whatever this power was, It wasn't going to define him. He would master it. Just like he had with the 9 tails. But as he disappeared into the horizon, an unsettling feeling gnawed at the back of his mind. There was something lurking beneath the surface of his newfound abilities. Something darker, more ancient than anything he had ever faced before. And it was only a matter of time before it made itself known. Naruto traveled for days. The forests and mountains of the Land of Fire passing in a blur as he pressed onward. He was used to being on his own. But this time, the weight of his journey felt heavier. He wasn't just searching for training or to become stronger. He was searching for answers. Answers that might change everything he knew about himself. It was late in the afternoon when Naruto finally reached a small village nestled between 2 large cliffs. He had heard rumors that Jiraiya had been spotted in the area, gathering information on Akatsuki, and Naruto was hopeful that his sensei could help him make sense of the transformation he'd undergone. As he entered the village, Naruto couldn't help but feel a strange tension in the air. The villagers were going about their day, but there was a heaviness that seemed to hang over the place. Something was wrong. Naruto approached an old woman selling vegetables at a nearby stand. "Excuse me. Have you seen a guy named Jiraiya around here? White hair. Wears a headband with the kanji for oil. And is always hanging around the hot springs." The woman glanced at him warily, her eyes flicking to the side. "I haven't seen him today. But there was some trouble near the cliffs earlier. Bandits, I think." Naruto's brow furrowed. "Bandits?" The old woman nodded, her voice low. "This village is small and defenseless. We've been dealing with a group of them for weeks now. They've taken what little we have and left us too afraid to fight back." Naruto's fists tightened at his sides. "They're hurting innocent people?" The old woman sighed. "We've tried to resist. But they're too strong. We're just farmers and merchants. What can we do against men with weapons?" Naruto felt a familiar anger rise inside him. He had seen enough of this in his life. People being bullied, oppressed, and hurt. And every time, he had vowed to never let it happen again. If Jiraiya was nearby, maybe this was something he would take care of. But Naruto couldn't stand by and do nothing. "Don't worry. I'll deal with them," Naruto said confidently, already turning to leave. "Wait." The old woman called after him, her voice filled with concern. "Please be careful. These men, they aren't normal." Naruto paused, glancing back at her. "What do you mean?" The old woman hesitated before speaking again, her voice barely above a whisper. "There are rumors. People say these bandits aren't human anymore. That they've become monsters." Naruto's heart skipped a beat. Monsters? It reminded him too much of his own transformation. The way his body had warped into something unrecognizable. He shook his head, trying to push the thought away. "I'll be fine," Naruto assured her with a smile, though his mind was already racing with questions. Naruto followed the winding path up toward the cliffs where the old woman said the bandits had last been seen. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain. As he neared the top, he could hear the distant sound of voices, loud and aggressive. He crouched low, hiding behind a boulder as he peered over the edge. There, in a clearing at the base of the cliffs, was a group of about 10 men. They were dressed in tattered armor, their faces rough and scarred. But what stood out the most was the strange, black substance covering parts of their bodies, thick, like tar, seeping from their skin. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. "They're like me," he realized. Or at least, like the thing he had turned into. Whatever this dark power was, it had spread beyond him. These men weren't just ordinary bandits. They had been consumed by something far more dangerous. Naruto clenched his fists, the strange energy stirring inside him. He couldn't afford to hesitate. If these men were a threat to the village, he needed to stop them. Without a second thought, Naruto leapt from the boulder, landing in the clearing below. "Hey!" he shouted, drawing the bandits' attention. "If you want to mess with this village, you'll have to go through me first." The bandits turned toward him, their eyes gleaming with a sinister light. The black substance coating their bodies pulsed, expanding as they snarled in response. One of the men, larger than the others, stepped forward, his voice a deep growl. "And who are you? Brat? Another foolish kid come to play hero?" Naruto narrowed his eyes. feeling the power inside him stir more violently than before. He could feel the transformation lurking just beneath the surface, begging to be unleashed. But he needed to control it, not let it control him. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he declared, his voice firm. "And I'm here to kick your asses." The leader of the bandits chuckled darkly. "Big words for someone so small. But you'll learn soon enough. No one stands against us. Not even the likes of you." As the bandit lunged at him, Naruto's instincts kicked in. He dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike, and retaliated with a kunai. But as his blade met the man's arm, it was like striking stone. The black substance covering the bandit's skin hardened on impact, and Naruto's kunai shattered into pieces. "What the?" Naruto gasped, jumping back in surprise. The bandit grinned, showing jagged teeth. "This power makes us invincible. You can't touch us, boy." Naruto's mind raced. The power these bandits had, it was similar to his own. But they had no control over it. They had become slaves to it. If he wasn't careful, the same thing could happen to him. He could feel it rising inside him. That monstrous energy, clawing its way to the surface. His heart pounded in his chest, his vision blurring as the transformation threatened to take hold again. "No," Naruto muttered under his breath, his body shaking. "Not now, not like this." But the more he fought it, the stronger it became. The bandits advanced, closing in on him. And with each step they took, the dark energy inside Naruto grew wilder. "Damn it!" Naruto growled, clutching his head as the power surged through him. He could feel his body starting to change, his muscles tightening, his skin prickling as the black substance began to form over his arms. One of the bandits charged at him, swinging a massive fist. Naruto barely dodged. But as he did, something snapped inside him. His vision went red. With a roar, Naruto felt his body shift, the dark energy bursting out of him in a wave. His hands twisted into claws, his skin hardening into the same black substance that covered the bandits. His body grew taller, bulkier, and his eyes gleamed with a feral, beastly light. The bandits stumbled back in shock as Naruto's transformation took hold. "What the hell is this?" one of them muttered, fear creeping into his voice. Naruto's lips curled into a snarl. But it wasn't entirely him anymore. The monster inside had awakened. For the next few minutes, the clearing was a blur of violence. Naruto moved with unnatural speed, tearing through the bandits like they were nothing. His claws slashed through their hardened skin with ease, his strength overpowering them at every turn. The once confident leader of the bandits was reduced to a quivering mess as Naruto loomed over him, his monstrous form casting a shadow over the terrified man. But as Naruto raised his clawed hand for the final blow, something inside him pulled back. "This isn't me," Naruto thought, his mind fighting to regain control. "I'm not a killer." The monster inside him growled in frustration, but Naruto forced it down, breathing heavily as he struggled to return to his normal form. Slowly, the black substance receded, and Naruto collapsed to his knees, panting. The bandits, those who were still conscious, stared at him in horror, too afraid to move. Naruto didn't know how long he sat there, trying to calm the raging storm inside him. All he knew was that he had come dangerously close to losing himself. And if it happened again, he might not be able to stop it. Naruto sat alone in the aftermath of the battle. The bodies of the unconscious bandits scattered around him. His heart was still racing, and his hands trembled as the last traces of the black substance receded from his skin. The fight was over. But the real battle, the one inside him, was just beginning. As Naruto tried to catch his breath, his mind raced with thoughts of what had just happened. He had let the monster take control, if only for a brief moment, and the sheer power it had unleashed was terrifying. If he hadn't stopped himself, those bandits would be dead right now, and he would be no different from the very monsters he sought to defeat. Naruto's head drooped, and he muttered to himself, "What's happening to me? I can't keep losing control like this." A soft rustling in the bushes behind him made him snap to attention. Instinctively, Naruto tensed, ready for another attack. But when the figure emerged from the foliage, he let out a sigh of relief. "Yo, Naruto," came the familiar, laid-back voice. Naruto looked up to see none other than Jiraiya, his pervy sensei, standing before him with a curious expression. His long white hair glistened in the fading light of the evening, and his red and green robe hung loosely on his broad frame. "Pervy sage," Naruto exclaimed, scrambling to his feet. "Where the hell have you been?" Jiraiya chuckled, though his eyes were sharp, scanning the battlefield and the bodies of the defeated bandits. "I could ask you the same thing, Naruto. Looks like you've been having a bit of fun while I was away." Naruto opened his mouth to respond but then hesitated. How could he explain what had just happened? How could he tell Jiraiya that he had become something monstrous? Jiraiya must have sensed Naruto's inner turmoil because his expression softened. He approached the boy, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Let's talk somewhere a little quieter," he suggested, glancing around. "This place reeks of blood and bad decisions." Later, they sat by a small stream just outside the village. The sound of running water helped to soothe Naruto's nerves. But the weight of the conversation that was about to happen still pressed down on him. Jiraiya sat across from him, his usual playful demeanor replaced by a seriousness that Naruto didn't often see. The older man leaned back, resting his hands behind his head, and looked at Naruto thoughtfully. "So," Jiraiya began after a long silence, "are you going to tell me what that was back there?" Naruto's gaze dropped to the ground. I don't know," he admitted. "Something's been happening to me, pervy sage. It started a little while ago, and it's getting worse." Jiraiya's brows furrowed, his playful nickname not even getting a rise out of Naruto like it normally would. "What exactly is happening?" Naruto hesitated, then took a deep breath, deciding to lay it all out. "It's like there's something inside me. Something powerful. It's not the nine tails. But it feels just as dangerous. When I get angry or when I'm in a fight, it comes out. And I can't control it." Jiraiya's eyes widened slightly, but he remained quiet, letting Naruto continue. "At first, I thought it was just some weird chakra thing. But it's not," Naruto said, his voice growing more frantic. "When it happens, my body changes. I get stronger, faster. But I turn into something not human." He looked up at Jiraiya, fear in his eyes. "I almost killed those guys today. I don't want to be a monster. But I don't know how to stop it." Jiraiya was silent for a moment, processing what Naruto had told him. Then, he leaned forward, his tone unusually serious. "Naruto, what you're describing, it sounds like you're dealing with something far beyond normal chakra. I've heard of strange transformations before, but nothing quite like this." Naruto frowned. "So, what do I do? How do I stop it?" Jiraiya sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm not sure yet. But the fact that it's not connected to the nine tails makes things more complicated. This power, whatever it is, seems to be tied directly to you, not Kurama." Naruto felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "But why me? Why now?" Jiraiya shook his head. "That's the big question, isn't it? Whatever this power is, it must have been dormant in you for a long time. Something triggered it recently, and now it's waking up." Naruto's mind flashed back to the first time he had experienced the transformation. It was during the attack by that mob in the village. Something had snapped in him then, and the dark power had surged to the surface. "But what if I can't control it?" Naruto asked quietly, his voice trembling. "What if I hurt someone I care about?" Jiraiya's expression softened, and he placed a hand on Naruto's head, ruffling his hair like he used to when Naruto was a kid. "Listen, kid. You've always had more power inside you than anyone gave you credit for. You've already managed to gain control over the Nine Tails chakra. And that's no small feat. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out together. But you need to trust yourself. And trust that you can control it." Naruto nodded slowly, feeling a little reassured. But the fear still gnawed at him. He wasn't just worried about the power itself. He was afraid of what it meant. He had spent his whole life fighting to prove that he wasn't a monster. That he wasn't just a vessel for the Nine Tails. But now, with this new power, he was starting to wonder if he really was turning into something else entirely. Jiraiya stood up, stretching. "All right, kid. First things first, we need to learn more about this power. And I have a few contacts who might be able to help." We'll start by doing some research into transformations like the one you're experiencing." Naruto stood as well, his resolve hardening. "Yeah. Let's do it. I'm not going to let this power control me." Jiraiya smiled, clapping Naruto on the back. "That's the spirit. But don't forget, this won't be easy. Whatever we're dealing with, it's something completely outside the normal shinobi world. But we'll figure it out. Just like we always do." Naruto nodded, his eyes determined. "I've got you, the old man, and the rest of my friends backing me up. I won't let this beat me." As they set off toward their next destination, Naruto couldn't help but feel a little lighter. The road ahead was uncertain, and the power inside him still frightened him. But he knew one thing for sure. He wouldn't face it alone. The journey with Jiraiya took Naruto deep into the wilderness, far from the bustling villages and cities of the Land of Fire. They ventured into hidden caves, crossed vast forests, and visited remote temples that few knew existed. It was clear that Jiraiya was leaving no stone unturned in their quest to uncover the mystery behind Naruto's newfound power. A week passed, and they had gathered only fragments of information. While they learned about various ancient transformations and forbidden techniques, none seemed to match what Naruto was experiencing. Frustration began to settle in as their leads turned into dead ends. But Naruto's resolve never wavered. He trusted Jiraiya, and more importantly, he trusted that he could overcome this power just as he had done with the Nine Tails. One evening, as they camped near the edge of a dense forest, Jiraiya sat by the fire, scribbling notes in one of his many research scrolls. Naruto lay nearby, staring up at the night sky. He was tired, not just physically, but mentally. Every night, he replayed the events of his transformations, wondering how close he had come to losing himself. He couldn't shake the memory of the bandits, how easily the monster inside him had taken over. He feared that the next time, he wouldn't be able to stop it. As he lay there, the sounds of the forest seemed to grow louder, crickets chirping, leaves rustling, and the distant howl of a wolf. But then, over the natural sounds, Naruto heard something else. A low hum, almost like a pulse, thrumming in the air around him. He sat up, frowning. "Pervy Sage, do you hear that?" Jiraiya didn't look up from his scroll. "Hear what?" Naruto strained his ears. The hum was growing louder. But it wasn't just a sound, it was something deeper, resonating inside him. It was coming from the same place where his strange new power lay dormant. The dark energy that had surged during the fight with the bandits was stirring again. But this time, it felt different. Less aggressive. More inviting. "I think it's happening again," Naruto muttered, clutching his chest. He could feel the power building, but instead of fear, curiosity tugged at him. This wasn't like before. It wasn't wild or uncontrollable. It was calling to him. Jiraiya looked up, his expression instantly serious. "Naruto, stay calm. Focus on controlling it." Naruto closed his eyes, taking deep breaths as he tried to center himself. The hum inside him grew louder, but he focused, forcing himself to remain in control. Slowly, the feeling became clearer. There was a pull, a direction. Something was drawing him deeper into the forest. "There's something out there," Naruto said, opening his eyes. "Something connected to this power." Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" Naruto nodded. "I can feel it. Like it's calling me." Jiraiya studied Naruto for a moment before standing up and grabbing his pack. "All right. Let's check it out. But stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with." They moved through the forest quietly, the trees casting long shadows in the moonlight. The deeper they went, the stronger the pull inside Naruto became. It wasn't painful, but it was relentless, guiding him towards something unknown. After about half an hour of walking, they reached a clearing surrounded by ancient trees. At the center of the clearing stood a large stone structure, partially hidden by vines and moss. It looked like an old shrine, long abandoned and forgotten by time. "This place," Jiraiya muttered, eyeing the structure. "It's ancient, older than most temples in the Land of Fire." Naruto felt a strange sense of recognition as he stepped closer to the shrine. The hum inside him was almost deafening now. And with each step, the pull grew stronger. He couldn't explain it, but he knew this place was connected to his power. As they approached the shrine, they noticed strange markings carved into the stone. They were unlike any language Naruto had seen before, symbols that seemed to twist and shift as he looked at them. As though they were alive, Jiraiya knelt down to examine the carvings. These markings, they're from a forgotten time. They talk about a beast, a creature of great power, sealed away to protect the world from its wrath. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. A beast? Like the Nine Tails? Jiraiya shook his head. No, this is something different. Something older. This isn't a biju. It's something beyond that. Naruto felt his heartbeat quicken as the hum inside him reached a crescendo. Without thinking, he stepped forward, placing his hand on the cold stone of the shrine. As soon as his fingers touched the surface, the markings flared to life, glowing a deep red. Naruto! Jiraiya shouted, stepping back as the ground beneath them began to shake. Naruto tried to pull his hand away, but it was stuck, an invisible force holding him in place. The glow from the shrine intensified, and suddenly, images flashed through Naruto's mind. He saw a great creature, massive and monstrous, its form shrouded in darkness. It roared, shaking the earth beneath it as it tore through mountains and forests, leaving destruction in its wake. But then, the vision changed. He saw figures, ancient shinobi, working together to seal the creature away. They bound it to the earth, using a power that felt strangely familiar. They locked the beast's essence inside a shrine, hidden deep in the forest, waiting for a day when it might be released. Naruto gasped as the vision ended, stumbling back as the force holding him released. He fell to his knees, panting. Jiraiya rushed to his side. Naruto, are you alright? Naruto looked up at Jiraiya, his eyes wide. I saw it. The power, it's not just some random transformation. It's part of an ancient beast. Something sealed away long ago. Jiraiya's face darkened. That explains why we haven't found anything like it in the records. This isn't just a chakra beast or some forbidden technique. It's something far older. Naruto clenched his fists, the weight of what he had learned settling in. This power, it's connected to me now. I don't know how, but I think I'm carrying the essence of that creature. Jiraiya frowned. That could be dangerous. Naruto. If that power was sealed away for a reason, then there's a risk that tapping into it could unleash something terrible. Naruto nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. I won't let it take control, pervy sage. But I need to know more. I need to understand what this power is and how to control it. Jiraiya placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, his expression serious but supportive. Then we'll keep searching. There's got to be more out there about this beast and how it came to be sealed. But for now, we need to focus on keeping that power in check. Naruto looked back at the shrine, the glow of the markings slowly fading. This was only the beginning, he could feel it. The power inside him was vast, ancient, and dangerous. But it was also a part of him now. And if he was going to protect the people he cared about, he needed to master it, no matter the cost. As they turned to leave the clearing, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, lurking in the shadows of the forest. Whatever this ancient beast was, its story wasn't over. And neither was Naruto's. Naruto and Jiraiya made their way back to camp in silence, the weight of what they had just discovered hanging over them. The pull that Naruto had felt earlier was gone, but the sense of unease lingered. Whatever ancient power lay dormant inside him, it was connected to that shrine and the beast from the vision. And now, it was clear that this wasn't some random transformation. It was something far more dangerous. They sat by the fire, the crackling flames the only sound cutting through the stillness of the night. Naruto was deep in thought, his eyes fixed on the flickering light. The vision of the beast replayed in his mind over and over again. The sheer size of it, the devastation it had caused, and the shinobi who had sealed it away. He could still feel the primal energy coursing through him, and the hum in the back of his mind was like a distant echo, reminding him of the power that lay beneath the surface. Jiraiya, sitting across from him, was equally contemplative. He had seen many things in his years as a shinobi, but nothing quite like this. Ancient seals, forgotten beasts, and powers that transcended the normal world of chakra. It was beyond anything he had anticipated. He watched Naruto carefully, noticing the tension in the boy's shoulders and the tight grip he had on his knees. "All right, Naruto," Jiraiya finally said, breaking the silence. "We've learned something important tonight. But we can't let it overwhelm us. This beast, whatever it is, was sealed away for a reason. The power inside you is dangerous. But that doesn't mean it has to control you." Naruto nodded. But his mind was elsewhere. "Yeah, I know. But what if I can't control it? Pervy sage. What if this thing takes over? And I become like the Nine Tails all over again?" Jiraiya frowned, leaning forward. "You've already proven you're stronger than that. Naruto. You've faced the Nine Tails. And you've come out on top. This is just another challenge. But we need to be smart about it. We need to learn everything we can about this beast and how it was sealed. That'll give us the answers we need." Naruto sighed, running a hand through his messy blonde hair. "But how do we do that? We don't even know what the beast is called or where it came from." Jiraiya stood up, pacing around the fire as he thought. "There are a few ancient libraries I know of. Places that keep records going back thousands of years. One of them is in the Land of Iron. And another in the Hidden Mist. We could start there." Naruto looked up at Jiraiya, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "So there's still a chance we can figure this out?" Jiraiya nodded, smiling. "Of course. We're not giving up that easily. Right? You're Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage. And you've got one of the most powerful shinobi in the world backing you up." Naruto grinned, feeling a little more like himself. "Right? We'll figure this out together." As they settled in for the night, Naruto couldn't help but glance toward the direction of the shrine, hidden deep in the forest. There was a part of him that felt drawn to it, even now. The power inside him wasn't just something he feared, it was something he could feel trying to reach out, as if it were alive, waiting for him to unlock its full potential. But what would happen when he did? The next morning, they packed up camp and set off for the Land of Iron. It was a long journey, and Jiraiya had insisted they travel quietly and keep a low profile. As much as Naruto wanted to rush forward and figure out what was happening to him, he knew Jiraiya was right. The last thing they needed was to draw attention from enemies, or worse, from those who might want to use his new power for their own purposes. After several days of travel, they arrived at the borders of the Land of Iron, a snowy and mountainous region known for its neutrality and samurai warriors. The cold air bit at Naruto's skin as they made their way up the winding mountain paths. But the sight of the ancient libraries and monasteries nestled within the cliffs was enough to make the journey worth it. "This place is incredible," Naruto said, gazing up at the towering stone structures. Jiraiya nodded. "The Land of Iron has preserved knowledge that the rest of the world has long forgotten. If there's any information about the beast inside you, it'll be here." They were greeted at the gates by a group of samurai, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. After Jiraiya explained their purpose, they were escorted to one of the grand libraries, a vast building carved into the side of the mountain. Inside, the air was cold and still, and rows upon rows of ancient scrolls lined the walls. The library was massive, and the thought of finding anything useful in such a place seemed overwhelming. But Jiraiya was determined. "We'll split up," he said. "Look for anything that mentions powerful beasts or ancient seals. I'll start with the older sections." Naruto nodded and made his way to a section labeled, "Forbidden Histories." As he combed through the scrolls, he found numerous accounts of tailed beasts and other creatures, but none that matched the one from his vision. Hours passed, and his frustration grew. But just as he was about to give up, a small, dusty scroll at the back of the shelf caught his eye. It looked older than the others, its paper yellowed with age. He carefully unrolled it, his heart pounding as he read the title. The Black Beast of Ruin. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. This had to be it. He skimmed the scroll, his eyes widening as he read. The Black Beast, it seemed, was an ancient creature born from the darkest parts of nature itself. Unlike the tailed beasts, which were beings of chakra, the Black Beast was made of pure destructive energy. It had no form of its own, constantly shifting and changing, and wherever it went, it left nothing but ruin in its wake. Thousands of years ago, a group of powerful shinobi from various villages had banded together to stop it. They used a combination of seals and ancient jutsu to trap the beast's essence inside a powerful vessel, hidden away deep within the land of fire. Over the centuries, the beast had become a forgotten legend, its name erased from history to prevent anyone from seeking its power. Naruto's hands trembled as he read the last line. The vessel is bound to the spirit of its host, and upon awakening, it will seek to consume the soul of its bearer. What does that mean? Naruto whispered to himself, his heart racing. Before he could process the full implications, Jiraiya appeared behind him, his face pale as he read over Naruto's shoulder. This is worse than I thought, Jiraiya muttered. The black beast isn't just some creature sealed away, it's trying to merge with you. Naruto looked up at Jiraiya, fear creeping into his voice. Merge with me? But, I thought I was just using its power? Jiraiya shook his head grimly. Nope. The more you use it, the more it takes hold of you. If we don't find a way to stop it, the beast will eventually consume your soul, and there'll be no coming back. Naruto's stomach dropped. This was far more serious than he had ever imagined. He wasn't just at risk of losing control, he was at risk of losing himself entirely. So what do we do? Naruto asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Jiraiya clenched his fists, his mind racing. We need to find a way to separate you from the beast. There must be a way to break the bond between you and the black beast before it's too late. Naruto nodded, his determination returning. He wasn't about to let some ancient monster take over his body. He had fought the Nine Tails, and he could fight this too. We'll figure this out, pervy sage, Naruto said, standing tall. I'm not going to let that thing win. Jiraiya smiled, though the worry in his eyes remained. That's the spirit, Naruto. But we'll need to move quickly. The more you use its power, the stronger the bond becomes. And once the black beast fully awakens, we may not have a second chance. As they left the library and headed deeper into the mountains in search of answers, Naruto couldn't help but feel the weight of the black beast's presence inside him. It was no longer just a source of strength. It was a ticking time bomb, waiting for the moment to consume him completely. And Naruto knew that if he didn't find a way to stop it soon, he might lose more than just his humanity. He might lose everything. The cold wind bit at Naruto's face as he and Jiraiya climbed higher into the mountains, their breaths coming out in white puffs. The towering peaks loomed over them, jagged and imposing. But Naruto barely noticed the harsh conditions. His mind was consumed with the knowledge of the black beast and the terrifying realization that its power was trying to consume him from within. Jiraiya was quiet, his eyes scanning the path ahead. But Naruto could tell that he was worried too. They had learned the truth about the black beast, but they still had no idea how to stop it. Every step they took felt like they were running out of time, and Naruto could feel the black beast's presence growing stronger inside him. The further they climbed, the more Naruto became aware of a strange sensation deep in his chest. It wasn't the same overwhelming surge of power he had felt before. Instead, it was a constant, pulsing energy, like the steady beat of a drum. It was as if the black beast was waking up, slowly but surely. Naruto glanced at Jiraiya, who seemed to sense it too. Pervy sage. What if we don't find a way in time? What if this thing takes over? Jiraiya stopped and turned to face Naruto, his expression serious but calm. We'll find a way, Naruto. I've been through worse, and so have you. But you need to remember something important. You're not alone in this. You got me. And you've got your friends back in the village. No matter what happens, we'll figure it out. Naruto nodded, trying to push down the fear gnawing at him. He trusted Jiraiya, and he knew his friends would support him. But the thought of the black beast consuming his soul was a weight he couldn't ignore. As they continued their ascent, Jiraiya began to explain their next steps. There's one place we haven't checked yet. It's risky, but it might hold the answers we need. Naruto frowned. Where? Jiraiya hesitated for a moment before speaking. There's an ancient temple near the peak of this mountain. It's said to be a place where shinobi from long ago studied forbidden jutsu and ancient seals. If the shinobi who sealed the black beast had a base of operations, it might have been there. Naruto's eyes widened. You think they left something behind? Maybe a way to stop this thing? Jiraiya nodded. It's possible. The temple was abandoned centuries ago. But if we're lucky, we might find records or clues about how they sealed the beast, and more importantly, How to break the bond it has with you. Naruto felt a surge of hope. It was a long shot, but it was the best lead they had. He steeled himself, pushing forward with renewed determination. Then let's get to that temple. Hours passed as they climbed higher and higher. The path became steeper, and the air grew thinner. But Naruto pushed through the fatigue. His mind was focused on the temple, and on finding a way to free himself from the black beast's grasp. Finally, they reached the summit. There, perched on the edge of a cliff, stood the ancient temple Jiraiya had mentioned. It was a crumbling, weathered structure, its stone walls cracked and covered in ice. The doors hung crooked on their hinges, and the once grand entrance was littered with debris from centuries of neglect. Naruto and Jiraiya exchanged a glance before stepping inside. The air was cold and still, and their footsteps echoed in the vast, empty halls. Faded murals lined the walls, depicting battles between monstrous creatures and shinobi wielding powerful jutsu. The scenes were eerily familiar, reminding Naruto of the vision he had seen of the black beast. Jiraiya led the way deeper into the temple, his eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of a library or chamber that might hold the answers they sought. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, as if the temple itself was warning them to turn back. But Naruto wasn't about to back down. Not now. Eventually, they came upon a large, circular chamber. In the center of the room was an ancient pedestal, and above it, a massive mural dominated the ceiling. The mural depicted a colossal, shifting creature, its form vague and ever-changing, just like the black beast. Around the creature were dozens of shinobi, their hands raised in unison as they performed a powerful sealing jutsu. "This is it," Jiraiya said quietly, his eyes fixed on the mural. "This must be where the black beast was sealed. If we're going to find any clues, they'll be here." Naruto approached the pedestal, his heart pounding. On it rested a single, weathered scroll. He picked it up gingerly, the brittle paper crinkling under his touch. As he unrolled it, his eyes scanned the ancient text, and Jiraiya stepped forward to read over his shoulder. The scroll detailed the process of sealing the black beast, but more importantly, it explained the bond between the beast and its host. The shinobi who had sealed the creature had done so by binding its essence to a powerful vessel, using the host's soul as a lock to keep the beast contained. But the scroll also mentioned a way to sever that bond, a forbidden technique that could separate the host from the beast's power. Naruto's heart raced as he read the final lines of the scroll. To break the bond, the host must confront the beast within and subdue it, not through force, but through understanding. Only by acknowledging the beast's true nature can the host reclaim their soul. Naruto looked up at Jiraiya, his eyes wide with realization. "I have to face the black beast. I have to understand it, not just fight it." Jiraiya nodded solemnly. "It makes sense. Seals are never just about brute strength. They're about balance. You've already shown you can resist the black beast. But if you want to free yourself from its grip, you'll need to go deeper." Naruto swallowed hard. The thought of confronting the black beast terrified him. But he knew it was the only way. He couldn't run from it anymore. He had to face the darkness head-on. That night, Naruto sat in meditation near the entrance of the temple, the scroll clutched in his hands. Jiraiya had explained the process, how Naruto would need to enter his own mindscape and confront the black beast directly. It was similar to how he had faced the Nine Tails, but this time, the stakes were even higher. As Naruto closed his eyes and focused on his breathing, he felt the world around him fade away. Slowly, he sank into the depths of his consciousness, the familiar sensation of his mindscape taking shape around him. When he opened his eyes again, he was standing in the middle of a vast, dark void. The air was thick with tension, and the ground beneath his feet felt unstable, as if it could collapse at any moment. And then, in the distance, he saw it. The black beast. It was larger than anything he had ever seen, its form constantly shifting and warping, like a storm of shadows and chaos. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and its presence was suffocating. Naruto's heart pounded in his chest as he took a step forward. He could feel the black beast's power pressing down on him, trying to crush him under its weight. But he forced himself to stand tall, his fists clenched at his sides. The beast let out a low, rumbling growl. Its voice echoing in the void. You cannot escape me. Boy. I am a part of you now. Naruto gritted his teeth. Maybe you are. But I'm not afraid of you. Not anymore. The black beast's form shifted, coiling around Naruto like a serpent. Its eyes bored into his. And for a moment, Naruto felt the overwhelming urge to flee, to run as far away from this creature as possible. But he stood his ground, refusing to back down. I'm not here to fight you, Naruto said, his voice steady. I'm here to understand you. The black beast snarled, its form growing larger. Understand me? Foolish boy. I am destruction. I am chaos. There is nothing to understand. Naruto shook his head. Nope, that's not true. You were sealed away for a reason. And now you're trying to take over my soul. But I'm not just going to let that happen. If I'm going to stop you, I need to know why you exist in the first place. For a moment, the black beast was silent. Its form flickered, as if it were considering Naruto's words. Then, slowly, it began to speak. I was born from the darkness of this world. From the hatred, the pain, the suffering. I am the embodiment of destruction. And I exist to bring an end to all things. Naruto's eyes narrowed. But why? Why do you want to destroy everything? The black beast's eyes gleamed. Because that is my nature. It is what I was created to do. You cannot change what I am. Naruto took a deep breath, his mind racing. The black beast was powerful. Yes. But it was also bound by its own nature. It had been created to destroy. And it knew nothing else. But Naruto wasn't like that. He wasn't bound by some ancient destiny. I don't believe that, Naruto said firmly. You were sealed away for a reason. And now you're trying to use me to gain freedom. But what if I told you that you don't have to be bound to destruction? What if there's a different path for you? The black beast's form hesitated, its shadowy tendrils pulsing with uncertainty. You think you can change me? I am chaos incarnate. Your words mean nothing to me? Naruto took a step forward, forcing himself to maintain eye contact with the creature. You may have been born from chaos, but you're also part of me. I can feel your pain, your anger. You've been locked away for so long, and now you're lashing out because you don't know any other way. But I know what it's like to be judged by my power, to be feared for what I am. I faced that darkness myself. The black beast recoiled slightly, as if Naruto's words struck a chord deep within its chaotic essence. You're weak, boy. You think your understanding will make me submit? Maybe it's not about submission, Naruto replied, his voice firm but compassionate. Maybe it's about finding common ground. I can help you find a new purpose, one that doesn't involve destruction. Together, we could protect this world instead of tearing it apart. A rumble echoed through the void, a low growl emanating from the black beast. You are a naive child. You do not know the extent of the darkness within you or the power I possess. I could wipe out your precious village with a single thought. Naruto clenched his fists. But he refused to back down. You could. But you won't. Because deep down, you're just as scared as I am. You don't want to be a monster. I know that you want to be free. Just like I do. But if we're going to break this bond, we have to work together. The black beast's form flickered again, the shadows swirling violently as it seemed to struggle with Naruto's words. You speak of freedom. Yet you do not understand the nature of power. It is intoxicating. It consumes you until there is nothing left but chaos. Naruto shook his head. I do understand. I've fought against that feeling my entire life. It's what fuels my determination to protect my friends and my village. I'm not perfect. But I know that real strength comes from connection, not destruction. In that moment, the void began to shift around them, and Naruto could feel the pressure of the black beast's power weighing down on him. It was disorienting, but he stood tall, remembering his friends and the bonds they shared. Look around you. All this destruction. All this pain. It's a cycle that never ends. But it doesn't have to be that way. Let's break the cycle together. The black beast's growl softened, the shadows that made up its form wavering. You think you can save me? Naruto nodded, his heart racing. I know we can find a way. We can face this darkness together. You don't have to be a monster. We can find a way to coexist. A moment of silence fell between them as the black beast pondered Naruto's words. It began to shrink, its massive form retracting into a more manageable size. Though still large and imposing. You would accept me? Even after everything I've done? Naruto felt a surge of hope. Yes. We can forge a new path. I don't want to fight you. I want to understand you. Together, we can protect what's important instead of destroying it. The black beast's form flickered again. And for the first time, there was a hint of something softer in its eyes. Perhaps there is a different way. But it will not be easy. You must face the darkness within yourself as well. Naruto's determination flared. I'm ready. I faced my own darkness before. And I'll do it again. Let's do this together. With a roar, the black beast surged forward, wrapping around Naruto in a tidal wave of darkness. But instead of overwhelming him, it began to meld with his very being. Naruto felt the power of the black beast coursing through him. Not as a separate entity but as a part of himself. Suddenly, Naruto was jolted awake, gasping for breath as he returned to the temple. Jiraiya was kneeling beside him. Concern etched on his face. Naruto. Are you okay? Naruto took a moment to gather his thoughts. The confrontation with the black beast had felt so real, and he could still feel the weight of its power within him. I think it's starting to change. I was able to connect with it. It doesn't have to be just chaos anymore. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. A flicker of hope crossing his face. You managed to make contact? That's incredible. But what does that mean for you now? Naruto sat up. His heart still racing. It means that I have a choice. I can harness its power without letting it consume me. But I need to train. And I need to learn how to control it. We can use this to protect the village. Let's get to work. Then, Jiraiya said with a grin. If you've managed to reach that point, I believe you're ready to take the next steps in mastering this power. As the sun began to rise over the mountains, Naruto and Jiraiya prepared to leave the temple, armed with new knowledge and a renewed sense of purpose. Naruto could feel the black beast's presence within him. But instead of fear, there was now a sense of understanding and potential. Together, they would find a way to break the cycle of destruction, forging a new path that would not only protect the people they loved but also embrace the darkness within. Naruto was ready to embrace his destiny. And with the power of the black beast at his side, he would prove that even the darkest forces could become a light in the world. And so, as they descended the mountain, Naruto felt the weight of his new journey resting heavily on his shoulders. He wasn't just carrying the burden of the black beast. He was also carrying the hope of his friends and the future he wished to protect. As Naruto and Jiraiya made their way down the mountain, the crisp morning air filled their lungs with renewed energy. Naruto felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced before. The bond he formed with the black beast wasn't just a curse. It was a chance to tap into incredible power. A chance to become stronger than he ever thought possible. Pervy sage, Naruto said, breaking the silence. How do I start training to control this power? I can feel the black beast inside me. But I don't want it to take over. Jiraiya glanced sideways at him. His eyes narrowed thoughtfully. First, we need to understand exactly what you're dealing with. The black beast is a creature of chaos. But you've already started the process of understanding it. That's a significant first step. Now we need to channel that energy constructively. Naruto nodded, eager to learn. So, what's the plan? Jiraiya scratched his chin, his expression shifting from thoughtful to mischievous. We're going to start with something simple, basic control exercises. We need to find a way to summon the power of the black beast without letting it overwhelm you. They reached a clearing in the woods as they descended, surrounded by towering trees and the gentle sounds of nature. The place felt serene, a perfect setting for Naruto to begin his training. Jiraiya motioned for Naruto to stand in the center of the clearing. Focus on your breathing, Jiraiya instructed, his voice steady. Feel the energy within you. The power of the black beast. Let it flow. But don't let it consume you. Imagine it as an extension of yourself. Something you can control. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing inward. He felt the pulsating energy within him. A raw and untamed force. With each breath, he drew it closer, feeling it surge through his body. He envisioned the black beast, not as a terrifying monster but as a powerful ally. The first few attempts were shaky. Naruto felt the energy flare up, almost spilling over. and he found himself struggling to rein it in. The shadows would flicker at the edges of his consciousness, whispering promises of destruction and chaos. "Keep your focus, Naruto," Jiraiya called out, breaking through the noise in his mind. "Remember, you're not just fighting against it. You're inviting it to work with you. Embrace it." Naruto gritted his teeth and concentrated harder. He visualized the shadows wrapping around him, shaping into something manageable, something he could wield. After a moment, he felt the energy settle, like a calm wave washing over him. He opened his eyes and saw a small manifestation of shadow swirling around his hand. It was faint, but it was there, a tangible representation of the Black Beast's power under his control. "I did it!" Naruto shouted, excitement flooding his voice. Jiraiya grinned, clearly impressed. "Good. Now let's see if you can keep it steady." He gestured for Naruto to hold the form longer, testing his control. Naruto focused, channeling the energy. The shadow flickered but held its shape, and he felt a rush of adrenaline surge through him. He was harnessing the chaos within, transforming it into a weapon rather than letting it consume him. "Nice work." Jiraiya cheered. "You're starting to get the hang of it. But let's take it a step further. Try to expand the shadow. Make it grow." Naruto nodded, his expression turning serious as he concentrated again. He envisioned the shadow expanding, reaching out from his hand. This time, the energy surged forward, a dark wave blossoming into the air around him. It pulsed with power, but he felt the familiar tension creeping back in. "Easy now," Jiraiya warned. "Remember, you're in control." Naruto tightened his grip, recalling his previous understanding of the Black Beast. "I can do this. I'm not afraid of you," he shouted, willing the shadow to stabilize. With a tremendous effort, he forced the energy to spread further without collapsing. The shadow solidified into a massive shape resembling the Black Beast's form, towering above him but under his command. It flickered with a dark light, a testament to Naruto's growing mastery. "Perfect," Jiraiya exclaimed, watching the shadow with pride. "You're learning to mold it, to control it. Now, let's see how it holds up under pressure." Suddenly, Jiraiya leapt back, summoning a few shadow clones. "Get ready. These clones will attack you, and you need to defend yourself using the Black Beast's power." Naruto's heart raced as he nodded. He readied himself, focusing on the shadow beast he had created. He could feel its power thrumming inside him, a surge of chaotic energy ready to be unleashed. The clones charged, rushing at him with varying speeds. Naruto focused, channeling his will into the shadow form, commanding it to lash out. With a swift motion, the shadow beast responded, stretching out its limbs to intercept the clones. The impact was explosive. Naruto felt the rush of power surge through him as he wielded the shadow to block and strike back. The clones exploded into smoke upon contact. But each time, he felt a flicker of the Black Beast's chaotic energy trying to slip back into control. "Stay focused," Jiraiya yelled from the sidelines. "You're doing great. But you need to keep your emotions in check. The more you give in to anger or fear, the harder it'll be to maintain control." Naruto grunted, determination fueling his actions. He pushed through the chaos of battle, visualizing the bond he had forged with the Black Beast. "We can do this together," he shouted as he unleashed the shadow once more, the power growing stronger and more defined. He successfully defended against another clone, then another, and the sensation of empowerment grew. But just as he felt he had a handle on it, the remaining clones combined their forces and launched a coordinated attack. "Now," Jiraiya called, pushing Naruto to his limits. "Unleash everything." Taking a deep breath, Naruto summoned all the energy he could. He called upon the Black Beast, channeling its chaotic essence, and with a roar, he released a massive wave of shadow energy that engulfed the clones. The resulting explosion sent a shockwave through the clearing, scattering debris and sending trees swaying. When the smoke cleared, Naruto stood panting, a fierce expression on his face, the shadow beast looming behind him. "Not bad, kid," Jiraiya laughed, stepping forward to clap him on the back. "You managed to control that power impressively. But remember, this is just the beginning." Naruto grinned, his confidence soaring. "I can feel it," This power. It feels incredible. But with great power comes great responsibility. Jiraiya warned, his tone shifting to seriousness. You'll need to remain vigilant. The more you harness the Black Beast's power, the stronger the bond will grow. You need to be prepared for the day when it might try to take control. Naruto nodded, sobering at the reminder. I won't let that happen. I'm going to keep training and mastering it. Good, Jiraiya said, crossing his arms. Now, let's go back to the village. You'll need to rest and train further. There's a lot more to this power, and you'll need all the help you can get. As they began to make their way back, Naruto felt a sense of purpose settle within him. He was no longer just a vessel for chaos. He was forging a new destiny, one where he could channel this incredible power for the good of his village. The journey ahead would be difficult, but he was ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. He would master the Black Beast, not as a monster, but as a protector of the hidden leaf. The village greeted them with its usual bustle as they descended the mountain. Naruto felt invigorated by his training, eager to share his progress with his friends. But he also felt a deeper sense of responsibility. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for everyone who believed in him. As they entered the village, Naruto's thoughts drifted to his teammates, Sakura and Sasuke. He could already envision the looks on their faces when he told them what he had accomplished. They would be proud, and he wanted to prove to them that he could handle this new power without losing himself. Pervy Sage, Naruto said, glancing over at Jiraiya. Can we meet up with Sakura and Sasuke? I want them to know what I've been working on. Jiraiya chuckled. Sure thing. But let's keep this under wraps for now. We don't want to cause a panic with the details of the Black Beast just yet. Naruto nodded, understanding the gravity of their secret. They found a quiet spot near the village training grounds, and Naruto focused on his breathing, readying himself for the next phase of his journey. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Naruto gathered with Sakura and Sasuke in their usual training area. The air was filled with excitement, and Naruto could barely contain himself as he shared the details of his recent training. Guys, you won't believe what I've been working on, he exclaimed, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. What is it, Naruto? Sakura asked, leaning in with interest. I've learned to harness the power of the Black Beast, he declared, the words spilling out of him. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, skepticism evident on his face. The Black Beast? That sounds dangerous. I know it does. But I've made a connection with it. I can control it now. It's incredible. Naruto explained, recalling the feeling of power coursing through him. Are you serious? Sakura gasped, her eyes wide. That's amazing. But are you sure you can handle it? Naruto's expression turned serious. I've trained hard, and I'm ready. I won't let it control me. I want to use this power to protect the village and everyone I care about. Sasuke studied Naruto closely, a flicker of admiration crossing his features. If you can control it, then it could be a tremendous advantage in our missions. But you have to stay focused. Don't let it consume you. I won't. Naruto promised, determination lacing his voice. I'll prove that I can handle it. Together, we'll protect the village from any threat that comes our way. As they discussed strategies and shared their own training experiences, Naruto felt a renewed sense of purpose. With his friends by his side, he could face any challenge the future held. That night, as he lay in bed, Naruto's thoughts drifted back to the Black Beast. The connection they shared was stronger than ever, and he could feel the presence within him, not as an enemy but as a partner. He knew the journey ahead would be fraught with trials, but he was ready to face them head-on. He was no longer just Naruto Uzumaki. He was a ninja bound to the power of Kaiju no 8. And he would forge a new destiny. One where he could protect those he loved while harnessing the strength of the chaos within. And with that thought, he drifted off to sleep, ready for whatever awaited him in the days to come. The sun rose over the hidden leaf village, casting a golden hue over the rooftops and illuminating the paths where villagers began their daily routines. Naruto awoke with a jolt, excitement bubbling within him as he remembered the power he had begun to control. The previous night's discussions with Sakura and Sasuke replayed in his mind, filling him with determination. After quickly dressing and preparing for the day, he rushed out of his house. The village was alive, bustling with activity. But Naruto's focus was singular. He wanted to train, to push the boundaries of his newfound abilities. And he was eager to show his friends the progress he had made. As he approached the training grounds, he found Sasuke already there, practicing his shuriken techniques. The sound of metal clattering against the wooden targets filled the air. Naruto waved enthusiastically, causing Sasuke to look up, slightly irritated. "Don't you ever sleep in?" Sasuke muttered, shaking his head. "Not when I have so much to do." Naruto grinned, a spark of energy radiating from him. "Are you ready to see what I can do?" Sasuke raised an eyebrow, skepticism written all over his face. "You mean the Black Beast? I hope you're not just talking bait. Just watch." Naruto shouted, gathering his chakra. He felt the familiar pulse of energy within him, the chaos of the Black Beast surging to the surface. With a focus he had cultivated over the last few days, he summoned a small manifestation of the shadow energy, enveloping his hand in dark tendrils. Sasuke's eyes widened for a moment, then narrowed again as he took a step back. "Impressive. But can you control it when it's challenged? I'll show you." Naruto shouted, determination set in his expression. He turned and faced a nearby tree, concentrating hard. With a fierce roar, he unleashed the shadow energy, sending a wave crashing into the tree. It splintered, bark flying in all directions, and the impact sent tremors through the ground. "Whoa!" Sasuke exclaimed, momentarily surprised. "That's a lot stronger than I expected." Naruto felt exhilarated, the power surging through him. "And that's just the beginning. I can control it even more now." Just then, Sakura arrived, her expression shifting from worry to awe as she witnessed the destruction. "Naruto, what did you do?" she exclaimed, rushing over to inspect the damage. "It's awesome, right?" Naruto replied, his voice brimming with pride. "I can control the Black Beast's power. Be careful." Sakura cautioned, her eyes wide with concern. "You have to be responsible with that kind of strength. It can hurt people if you lose control." "I know. I've been training hard to keep it in check," Naruto assured her. "I won't let it consume me. I want to use it to protect everyone." Sasuke nodded, his demeanor softening. "Just remember, it's not just about raw power. It's about strategy and control." The three friends exchanged glances, their bond tightening as they prepared for the next phase of their training. Naruto felt a sense of urgency. He knew they had to be ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. A few hours later, they had set up a series of exercises to test Naruto's control over the Black Beast's power. They worked as a team, combining their strengths and strategizing together. The forest surrounding the training ground echoed with their shouts and laughter, a symphony of camaraderie. "Okay, let's do this," Naruto shouted, determination etched on his face. "I'll create a shadow beast, and you two attack it. I'll defend." Sasuke and Sakura nodded, getting into position. As Naruto focused, he called forth the energy, summoning a shadowy creature that loomed beside him, mirroring the Black Beast's form. It was a sight to behold, a massive, dark entity pulsating with raw energy. "Now," Naruto commanded, sending the shadow beast towards Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke leapt into action, launching shuriken at the shadow creature, while Sakura prepared to use her medical ninjutsu to amplify her strength. The clones of the Black Beast deflected the projectiles, weaving and twisting with Naruto's will. As the training continued, they began to refine their teamwork, each using their unique abilities to challenge Naruto while he maintained control of the shadow beast. It was an exhilarating experience, each round pushing Naruto to grow stronger and more adept at wielding his power. But as the day wore on, the atmosphere shifted. A low rumble echoed in the distance, and dark clouds gathered ominously in the sky. The air grew thick with tension, and a chill ran down Naruto's spine. "What's happening?" Sakura asked, glancing up at the sky. "It's not just rain clouds," Sasuke said, his expression growing serious. "Something is coming." Suddenly, the ground shook violently, and the three friends stumbled to regain their footing. From the dark clouds, a colossal figure emerged, obscured by the shadows. A monstrous creature that dwarfed even the shadow beast Naruto had summoned. "What is that?" Naruto gasped, his heart pounding in his chest. "It's a kaiju!" Sasuke shouted, his eyes wide with shock. "We have to prepare ourselves." Before they could react, the kaiju unleashed a deafening roar that shook the very foundations of the training ground. Its immense form crashed through the trees, its eyes glowing with an eerie light as it advanced toward the village. "Everyone, get to safety," Sakura cried, her voice rising above the chaos. "We have to warn the villagers." "No," Naruto shouted, his determination igniting once more. "We can't let it reach the village. I can handle this." "Are you insane?" Sasuke shot back. "You don't know how powerful it is. I have to try," Naruto replied, feeling the power of the black beast surge within him. "This is why I've been training. I won't let anyone get hurt." With that, he summoned the full force of the shadow beast, its dark form rising to meet the looming threat. The energy crackled around him, illuminating the clearing in a flash of shadowy brilliance. "Stay back, and let me handle this," Naruto shouted, his voice filled with defiance. As the kaiju charged, Naruto stepped forward, channeling the energy into a massive shadow construct. He unleashed a torrent of darkness, directing it at the approaching beast. The impact sent shockwaves through the ground, and the two forces collided in an explosion of power. In the chaos that followed, Naruto could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had trained for moments like this, and now he had to face the challenge head-on. The monstrous creature roared, its powerful limbs crashing against the shadow beast as they clashed in a whirlwind of energy. "Hold your ground, Naruto," Jiraiya's voice echoed in his mind, urging him forward. "Remember, you're not just fighting with strength. Use your mind." Naruto took a deep breath, forcing the chaotic energy into focus. He had to think strategically. The kaiju was massive, but it had its weaknesses. With a powerful leap, he maneuvered around its flailing limbs, using the shadows to create a protective barrier. "Let's do this," he shouted, rallying the strength of the black beast as he prepared to unleash another wave of energy. He focused all his will into a single concentrated attack, aimed directly at the kaiju's heart. The beast staggered, the impact resonating throughout the area. Naruto's heart raced as he felt the power of the black beast responding to his command, swirling around him like a tempest. He was harnessing the very essence of chaos, channeling it into a singular purpose: to protect his village and those he loved. "Come on, Naruto. You can do this," Sakura shouted, her voice carrying through the chaos. Sasuke moved beside her, preparing his own jutsu to aid in the fight. With renewed determination, Naruto surged forward, ready to strike again. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a testament to his growth, a battle to show the world that he could control the chaos within him. And as the storm raged overhead, Naruto was determined to be the beacon of hope that would guide them through the darkness. The ground trembled as Naruto faced the towering kaiju, its massive form casting a dark shadow over the training grounds. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to flee, but the resolve within him burned brighter than ever. He had trained for this moment, and he would not back down. With a fierce battle cry, Naruto propelled himself into the air, channeling the power of the black beast. Shadow energy enveloped him, creating a dark aura that radiated strength and determination. The kaiju let out another deafening roar, its enormous jaws snapping dangerously close. But Naruto deftly evaded its attack. "Now!" he shouted, focusing his chakra. The shadow beast, a reflection of his will, surged forward to engage the kaiju. Naruto felt the connection between them deepen, a symbiotic bond that allowed him to control the shadow entity with newfound precision. As he landed, he directed the shadow beast to strike. Its massive form lashed out at the kaiju, powerful limbs colliding with scales that shimmered like obsidian. The force of the impact sent tremors through the ground, and Naruto could feel the raw power of the black beast coursing through him, urging him onward. "Let's go, Naruto," Sasuke shouted, unleashing a volley of shuriken aimed at the kaiju's eyes. Sakura followed up with a series of explosive tags, activating them mid-air to create a distraction. The kaiju turned, its attention split, giving Naruto the opening he needed. "Shadow Strike!" Naruto yelled, channeling a concentrated burst of energy through the shadow beast's fist. The dark entity reared back, then punched forward, landing a solid blow to the kaiju's chest. The force of the attack staggered the creature, causing it to roar in pain and rage. But the kaiju was relentless. It retaliated with a swipe of its massive claw, forcing Naruto to summon a barrier of shadows just in time. The barrier absorbed the impact, but the force of the blow pushed him back, leaving him momentarily stunned. "Stay focused, Naruto," Sakura encouraged, running to his side as she gathered her chakra. "We can do this together, right?" Naruto shouted, shaking off the dizziness. "We need to coordinate our attacks." As they regrouped, the kaiju prepared for another assault. It roared again, the sound echoing like thunder. The intensity of its presence was overwhelming, but Naruto could feel the power within him pushing back against the fear. "Let's do it," Sasuke said, stepping forward, his Sharingan activated. "I'll distract it, and you two go for the opening." Naruto nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. "I'll use the shadow beast to cover you. We can't let it get too close to the village." Sasuke dashed forward, using his agility to maneuver around the kaiju's massive limbs. He threw shuriken and activated his fire-style jutsu, unleashing a barrage of flames that struck the kaiju's side. The creature roared in anger, turning its attention to Sasuke. "Now!" Naruto shouted. He commanded the shadow beast to surge forward, using the opening created by Sasuke's attack. The shadow entity lunged at the kaiju, enveloping it in dark energy, constricting its movements. Sakura quickly joined in, channeling her chakra to enhance the shadow beast's strength. "Let's finish this," she cried, infusing it with her energy, giving it the power to restrain the kaiju even more. "Shadow binding technique," Naruto shouted. Focusing all his energy, the shadow beast expanded, wrapping its tendrils around the kaiju's limbs, immobilizing it temporarily. The creature thrashed, but Naruto and Sakura maintained their grip, holding it in place. "Now," Sasuke called, preparing his most powerful jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu. He launched a massive fireball directly at the kaiju, aiming for its face. The fireball struck, exploding in a blaze of flames. The kaiju let out a furious roar, the combination of attacks shaking its very core. The smoke and chaos obscured Naruto's view, but he felt the energy in the air shift. As the smoke began to clear, Naruto felt a surge of unease. The kaiju, though wounded, was still standing. It shook off the remnants of the fire, its eyes now glowing with an intense rage. "It's not done yet," Sakura warned, her eyes wide as she assessed the situation. "Stay alert," Sasuke said, quickly analyzing the beast's movements. "It's about to attack again." The kaiju reared back, preparing to unleash a devastating blast. A ball of energy began to form in its mouth, crackling with raw power. The ground trembled beneath them as the creature prepared to fire. "Everyone, get back!" Naruto shouted, instinctively drawing on the strength of the black beast. He could feel the energy coursing through him, ready to respond to his command. "I'll counter it." "No, Naruto. It's too dangerous," Sakura exclaimed, but he was already moving. With a leap, Naruto summoned all his chakra, channeling the shadow energy into a concentrated force. "Shadow armor," he yelled, enveloping himself in a protective layer of dark energy. The surge of power felt invigorating, and he focused on the kaiju, determined to deflect the attack. As the kaiju unleashed its energy blast, Naruto thrust his hands forward. "Shadow barrier," he commanded, the dark energy swirling around him to form a massive shield. The two forces collided with an earth-shattering explosion. The blast of energy from the kaiju met the barrier Naruto had created, shaking the very ground beneath them. Naruto felt the impact reverberate through his body, but he stood firm, pouring every ounce of his willpower into maintaining the barrier. "Keep it up, Naruto," Sasuke yelled, unleashing another round of shuriken to distract the kaiju. "Don't let up," Sakura added, activating her healing chakra to support Naruto. With their combined efforts, Naruto felt the weight of the blast begin to dissipate. Slowly but surely, He pushed back against the kaiju's energy, forcing it to retreat. Now, we have to finish this. Naruto shouted, ready to launch a final attack. Gathering all his strength, he focused on the shadow beast, commanding it to take the lead. Let's end this together. The shadow beast roared, surging forward with renewed power. Naruto joined its charge, the dark energy surrounding him like a tempest. They closed the distance, moving in perfect sync, the energy of the black beast guiding them. Shadow Fist. Naruto bellowed, launching the attack at the kaiju. The shadow beast followed suit, its fist colliding with the creature's jaw in a final, decisive blow. The impact resonated like thunder, sending shockwaves through the area. The kaiju staggered, its eyes wide with shock, before collapsing to the ground in a cloud of dust and debris. Silence fell over the battlefield as the dust settled, revealing the massive creature lying defeated. We did it! Sakura gasped, her voice trembling with disbelief. Yeah. Naruto shouted, pumping his fist in the air. We did it! Sasuke stood beside them, a small smirk appearing on his face. You really pulled it off, Naruto. I didn't think you could control that power so effectively. Naruto turned to his friends, pride swelling in his chest. We did it together. I couldn't have done it without you too. As they celebrated their victory, the realization of what they had faced began to sink in. They had fought a kaiju, something that seemed almost beyond their comprehension. But for Naruto, it was more than just a battle. It was a testament to his growth, a manifestation of his will to protect his friends and his village. Yet, as they basked in their triumph, a shadow flickered in the corner of Naruto's vision. He turned, feeling a familiar energy ripple through the air. Wait. Something's not right, he murmured, his heart racing. The dust from the fallen kaiju hung in the air, casting an eerie atmosphere over the training grounds. Naruto stood, heart pounding from adrenaline, when a strange, ominous feeling washed over him. Did you feel that? He asked, glancing at Sasuke and Sakura. They exchanged wary looks, clearly sensing something off. Yeah, Sasuke replied, scanning the area. It's like the air is charged with energy. Sakura furrowed her brow, stepping closer to Naruto. We should be cautious. Just because we defeated that thing doesn't mean we're out of danger. Right. Naruto agreed, instinctively reaching for the shadow beast, which hovered protectively at his side. The bond between them felt stronger after their victory, and he could sense the shadow entity's readiness to respond to any threat. As they moved cautiously toward the remnants of the defeated kaiju, a low rumble echoed in the distance. The ground trembled beneath their feet, causing them to stop in their tracks. What was that? Sakura exclaimed, looking around anxiously. Before anyone could respond, the ground erupted with a violent force. Cracks spider webbed through the earth, and out of the fissures emerged a second kaiju, even larger than the first. Its scales glistened with an iridescent sheen, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent hunger. No way. Naruto breathed, backing away. How can there be another one? The new kaiju roared, a chilling sound that resonated through their bones, sending waves of fear crashing over the trio. Unlike the first, this creature exuded a dark, pulsing energy, as if it had been summoned by some unseen force. We need to regroup, Sasuke shouted, activating his Sharingan. This one looks more powerful. Sakura nodded, her voice steady despite the fear creeping in. We have to find a way to stop it before it reaches the village. Let's get to higher ground. Naruto yelled, racing toward the nearest hill with Sasuke and Sakura close behind. They needed a strategic advantage to plan their next move against this formidable foe. Reaching the top of the hill, they paused to catch their breath and observe the situation. The second kaiju was wreaking havoc, thrashing wildly as it lumbered toward the village. Villagers were already fleeing, panic spreading like wildfire. Look at the size of that thing, Naruto exclaimed, feeling a mix of dread and determination. We can't let it destroy everything. We can't fight it head on like before, Sasuke said, calculating their options. It's too powerful. We need to find a way to weaken it first. Naruto nodded, heart racing as he watched the creature's destructive rampage. I'll use the shadow beast to distract it. You too can find a way to hit it with a powerful attack. Sakura frowned, concerned. That's risky, Naruto. You need to be careful. We don't know what it's capable of. I know, he replied, determination hardening his resolve. But we don't have time to waste. If we wait too long, it will reach the village. All right, Sasuke said, stepping forward. But we need to coordinate better this time. Let's use a combination of our abilities to keep it off balance. Got it. Naruto exclaimed, summoning the shadow beast beside him. Let's do this. With a roar, Naruto launched himself down the hill, the shadow beast surging forward beside him. As they approached the kaiju, Naruto felt the energy coursing through him, empowering him further. Hey, ugly, he shouted, drawing the creature's attention. The kaiju turned, its massive head swiveling to focus on him. Come and get me. As the kaiju let out another bone-chilling roar, it charged at Naruto with terrifying speed. Naruto commanded the shadow beast to intercept the kaiju, and it lunged forward, delivering a crushing blow to the creature's jaw. The impact sent shockwaves through the air, causing the kaiju to stagger back. Naruto seized the opportunity, using the chaos to dart around, looking for any weak points. Now, Sasuke, he shouted. From the hill, Sasuke unleashed a series of powerful fireballs, targeting the kaiju's legs. Fire style. Phoenix Fire Jutsu, he called, launching the flames with precision. The fireballs struck true, exploding on impact and causing the kaiju to howl in pain. Keep it up, Sakura yelled, joining in with her own chakra-infused attacks. Let's wear it down. As the kaiju reeled from the combined assault, Naruto felt a surge of confidence. Let's try that combo again, he shouted to the shadow beast. Shadow binding technique. With a swift motion, the shadow beast wrapped its dark tendrils around the kaiju's limbs, restricting its movement. The creature roared in fury, struggling against the binding force. But Naruto focused intently, reinforcing the hold. Now's our chance, Sasuke called, preparing another technique. Rasengan. Naruto, taking Sasuke's lead, combined his own energy with the shadow beast's. Shadow Rasengan, he yelled, forming the swirling sphere of energy in his hand. With a united front, they charged at the kaiju. For the village, Naruto shouted, propelling the combined attack directly at the creature's core. The impact was immense, sending shockwaves rippling through the ground. The kaiju's roar echoed through the air as it staggered, its dark energy flickering like a dying flame. But just as victory seemed within reach, the creature's eyes flashed with a new intensity. It unleashed a wave of dark energy, breaking free from the shadow beast's restraints. Watch out! Sakura screamed, pushing Naruto and Sasuke back just as the wave surged forward. Naruto felt the energy crash against him, the force sending him sprawling back into the dirt. He gasped for breath, struggling to get back on his feet as he felt the weight of despair settle over him. We can't let it win, he shouted, determination surging through him. Sasuke was already on his feet, gritting his teeth. We need to fight smarter, not harder. It's not just about power, it's about strategy. Sakura nodded, her eyes wide as she assessed the situation. Let's regroup. We need to come up with a plan. Just as they began to strategize, a blinding flash illuminated the sky. The air crackled with energy, and a powerful presence emerged. The figure of a towering entity loomed over them, its aura radiating authority. Who dares disturb the balance? The entity boomed, its voice resonating like thunder. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura exchanged shocked glances. What is that? Sakura whispered, a mixture of awe and fear coursing through her. The figure stepped forward, its silhouette shifting in the light. I am the guardian of this realm. Your struggle has awakened forces you cannot comprehend. What do you mean? Naruto demanded, trying to regain his footing despite the overwhelming pressure from the entity. The guardian's gaze locked onto Naruto, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. Your actions have consequences, child of the shadow. The kaiju is but a manifestation of a greater threat. If you wish to protect your world, you must unlock the true potential within you. Naruto's heart raced, sensing the weight of the guardian's words. "What do I need to do?" "Embrace the darkness within," the guardian instructed. "Only then can you control the power you seek. But be warned. The path will not be easy." As the guardian's presence faded, Naruto felt a surge of energy within him. A call to embrace his new abilities fully. "Guys," he said slowly, his eyes shining with determination. "I think I know what we need to do. We need to merge our powers. If we can combine everything we have, we can take down that kaiju once and for all." "Are you sure?" Sasuke asked, his voice serious. "Absolutely," Naruto exclaimed, feeling the energy pulsing within him. "If we work together, we can create something unstoppable." Sakura nodded, her eyes resolute. "Let's do this." As they positioned themselves, Naruto could feel the shadow beast responding to his will, merging its energy with the essence of his friends. The air around them crackled with anticipation, the energy coalescing into a formidable force. "Together!" Naruto shouted, as they unleashed their combined power toward the kaiju, ready to confront the chaos head-on. The air around Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura surged with energy as they prepared to unleash their combined power against the looming kaiju. The ground beneath them trembled in anticipation, mirroring the intensity of their resolve. Naruto felt the pulse of his new abilities coursing through him, a vibrant rhythm that resonated with the shadow beast and his friends. "Let's go!" Naruto shouted, igniting the energy within him. "Shadow beast, lend me your power." As he called out, the shadow beast manifested beside him, its form shifting and swirling as it absorbed the energy emanating from Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. The darkness wrapped around them, amplifying their abilities as they focused on the threat before them. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as he tapped into his Sharingan. "I'll cover you while you prepare the attack," he said, already weaving a complex series of hand signs. "Let's make sure it can't counter." Sakura clenched her fists, her chakra flaring to life as she prepared her own assault. "I'll support you both. Let's show this monster what we're made of." The kaiju, still reeling from the earlier attacks, sensed the rising power and turned its glowing eyes toward them, fury radiating from its massive frame. It let out a roar that shook the ground, its dark energy swirling in a chaotic frenzy. "Stay focused," Naruto yelled, channeling all his energy into the shadow beast. "Now!" Together, in unison, they launched their assault. Sasuke unleashed a barrage of fireballs, each one crackling with deadly intent as they streaked toward the kaiju. The creature swatted them away, but Naruto and Sakura followed up without hesitation. "Rasengan!" Naruto shouted, charging forward as the swirling sphere of chakra manifested in his hand. "Shadow Rasengan!" He flung the attack at the kaiju, which met the sphere with a powerful swipe of its claw. The impact sent shockwaves rippling through the area. But Naruto wasn't finished. "Now, Sakura, cherry blossom impact!" she cried, channeling her chakra into the ground. The earth erupted, sending a wave of flowers imbued with healing energy and explosive force toward the kaiju. The petals swirled around the beast, exploding with each touch, stunning it momentarily. "Good job!" Naruto cheered, feeling the energy shift as they continued their assault. But the kaiju was not to be underestimated. Regaining its composure, it unleashed another wave of dark energy, a chaotic surge aimed at the trio. "Watch out!" Sasuke yelled, activating a shield with his chakra. "Protect yourself!" The wave crashed into Sasuke's barrier, sending him skidding back but buying enough time for Naruto and Sakura to regroup. "Keep pushing. We can't let it recover," Naruto shouted, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Let's synchronize," Sasuke suggested, adjusting his stance. "If we can coordinate our powers, we might have a chance to break through its defenses." Naruto nodded, feeling the urgency rise within him. "Let's do it. I'll distract it, and you two hit it from the sides." As he charged forward, the shadow beast surged alongside him, its tendrils lashing out to grab the kaiju's limbs. The creature roared in frustration, trying to shake off the bindings. "Now!" Sasuke shouted, darting to the left as Sakura took the right flank. "Fire style. Great fireball jutsu," Sasuke called out, launching a massive fireball toward the kaiju's face. "Here's my chance," Sakura added, channeling her strength into another devastating attack. Sakura's strength. Double impact. With the combined onslaught, the kaiju staggered, struggling against the shadow beast's grasp. Naruto seized the moment, channeling everything into one final strike. "Shadow beast, and I will finish this," he shouted, concentrating his energy. Shadow Rasengan. Ultimate burst. The shadow beast surged with power, and the attack transformed into a colossal swirling sphere, glimmering with an eerie dark light. Naruto pushed forward, determined to land the decisive blow. "Take this," he yelled, thrusting the attack toward the kaiju. The sphere collided with the creature, exploding in a brilliant flash of energy. The explosion sent shockwaves through the battlefield, illuminating the sky and engulfing the kaiju in a maelstrom of light and darkness. The ground shook, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still as the power unleashed rippled outward. As the dust began to settle, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood panting, their eyes glued to the site of the blast. A tense silence fell over them, anticipation hanging in the air. "Did we do it?" Sakura whispered, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, scanning the aftermath. "We need to be ready. It might still be alive." Just then, a low rumble echoed, and from the smoke emerged the kaiju, battered but not defeated. Its eyes glowed brighter, fueled by rage and pain, and it let out an earth-shattering roar that sent chills down their spines. "This isn't over," Naruto shouted, determination igniting within him. "We'll finish this." As the kaiju charged again, the three friends prepared for one last stand. Together, Sasuke shouted, activating his Sharingan once more. "We need everything we have. Let's finish this." Sakura added, gathering her chakra. Naruto felt the energy flowing through him, stronger than before, as he summoned the shadow beast to his side. "I'll channel the last of my strength into the shadow beast. Let's finish this once and for all." As the kaiju closed in, the three of them melded their powers, each contributing their energy to create a single, overwhelming force. The shadow beast morphed and expanded, becoming a massive entity, infused with the combined strength of Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. "Now," Naruto shouted, launching the combined energy forward. Ultimate Shadow Beast technique. The energy surged toward the kaiju, enveloping it in a cocoon of darkness and light. The kaiju roared in defiance, but as the attack connected, its cries turned to howls of anguish. The explosion that followed lit up the sky, the shockwave sending debris flying in all directions. The ground shook violently, and for a moment, everything was engulfed in a blinding light. As the brilliance faded, the three friends stood, breathless, watching as the kaiju disintegrated into particles, its dark energy vanishing into the air. We did it!" Naruto exclaimed, disbelief washing over him. Sasuke nodded slowly, his expression a mix of relief and astonishment. "It's finally over." Sakura wiped her brow, letting out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "We're safe now. The village is safe." But just as they began to relax, the Guardian's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. "Your victory is only the beginning. Greater threats loom on the horizon, and your journey has only just begun." Naruto's heart raced at the thought. What does that mean? But before he could contemplate further, the earth beneath them began to tremble once more, and dark clouds gathered ominously overhead. "This isn't over yet," Sasuke shouted. Taking a defensive stance, Naruto steeled himself, determination flooding his veins. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together. We've come too far to back down now." As they braced for the next challenge, a new resolve ignited within them. With the bond forged through adversity and the strength of their combined powers, they were ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The tremors beneath Naruto's feet subsided, but the ominous clouds above swirled with a dark intensity, casting an eerie shadow over the battlefield. He exchanged worried glances with Sasuke and Sakura, who were equally on edge, their senses heightened, ready for whatever threat loomed next. "Stay sharp," Sasuke warned, his Sharingan glowing with a crimson light. "We don't know what's coming." Naruto nodded, grounding himself in the moment. The shadow beast stirred within him, sensing the impending danger. I can feel it too. Something's not right. As they scanned their surroundings, the air thickened with tension. The remnants of the kaiju's dark energy lingered, mingling with the gathering storm clouds. Just when they thought the worst was behind them, a deep rumble echoed through the sky, and a silhouette emerged from the shadows, taking form amid the swirling darkness. It's not over yet, Sakura exclaimed, her eyes widening in horror. From the depths of the storm, a figure emerged, clad in dark armor, radiating an aura that sent chills down their spines. Its presence felt like a cold wave washing over them, heavier than any previous foe they had faced. The figure lifted its head, revealing a mask that obscured its face, with piercing eyes that glowed like embers. Who? Or what are you? Naruto demanded, stepping forward, ready to defend his friends. The figure laughed, a sound that resonated with malice and echoed in the stillness. I am Nyx, the harbinger of shadows. I have come to claim what is rightfully mine. Claim what? Sasuke retorted, his stance unwavering. You're the one who needs to back off. Your victory over the kaiju was merely a fluke. Nyx sneered, raising a hand as tendrils of shadow snaked from the ground, creeping toward the trio. You have no idea the forces you've awakened. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling the shadow beast stir within him, urging him to unleash its power. Whatever you're planning, we won't let you do it. Nyx's laughter rang out, chilling the air. Your spirit is commendable, but futile. The kaiju was just a pawn in a much larger game. Before Naruto could respond, the tendrils of shadow lunged at them, weaving through the air like living snakes. Get back, he shouted, channeling the shadow beast's power. Protect, Sakura shouted, her chakra flaring as she leapt in front of Naruto and Sasuke, forming a barrier of blossoms. The tendrils slammed into the barrier, causing it to ripple and tremble but ultimately holding firm. Now's our chance, Sasuke called out, weaving hand signs with precision. Fire style. Phoenix fire jutsu. The barrage of fireballs erupted from his mouth, striking the tendrils and illuminating the dark landscape. The flames danced wildly, consuming the shadows and momentarily clearing the air. Let's go, Naruto shouted, feeling a surge of adrenaline. Rasengan. He charged forward, the swirling sphere of energy forming in his hand as he propelled himself toward Nyx. You won't hurt my friends. As he closed in, Nyx raised a hand, summoning more tendrils to block the attack. Foolish child. You cannot hope to defeat me. The tendrils crashed against Naruto's Rasengan, but the sheer force of his determination pushed through, causing an explosion of energy that sent shockwaves rippling through the air. Keep pushing, Sakura encouraged, charging alongside Naruto. We can't let him recover. Nyx, momentarily staggered by the explosion, narrowed its eyes. You'll pay for that. Dark energy coalesced around Nyx, forming a massive wave that crashed toward Naruto and Sakura. Get back, Sasuke yelled, activating his Susanoo. The ethereal warrior emerged, its massive frame shielding them from the onslaught. The impact of Nyx's attack reverberated through the battlefield, but the Susanoo held firm, absorbing the energy and dissipating it. Sasuke gritted his teeth, sweat beading on his forehead. I can't hold this for long. Let me help, Naruto shouted, channeling his own energy into the Susanoo. Shadow Beast. Combined with Susanoo, the Shadow Beast surged forth, intertwining with Sasuke's Susanoo, enhancing its power and creating an imposing figure of dark energy. The combined form glowed with an unsettling light, ready to confront Nyx. This is impossible, Nyx stammered, taking a step back. How could you? Let's finish this, Naruto shouted, determination fueling him. Together, Sasuke and Sakura nodded, their resolve unwavering as they prepared for one final attack. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu, Sasuke called, his eyes blazing with intensity. Cherry blossom impact, Sakura added, channeling her chakra into the attack. The combined force surged toward Nyx, who tried to counter with a wave of dark energy. But it was too late. The fire and blossoms exploded around him, engulfing him in an inferno of light and color. As the energy dissipated, the air fell silent. They stood together, breathless, waiting for the smoke to clear, anxiety creeping in as they scanned for any sign of Nyx. "Did we get him?" Sakura asked, glancing nervously at her friends. "Stay alert," Sasuke warned, his eyes searching the horizon. "He might not be finished." Just as he spoke, a figure emerged from the smoke, battered but still standing. Nyx's mask was cracked, and his eyes glinted with a dangerous fire. "You think you've won? This is just the beginning? Shut up," Naruto shouted, channeling the last of his energy. "We're ending this now." But before he could launch another attack, Nyx raised his hands, and dark tendrils shot from the ground, wrapping around them. "You will learn the true meaning of despair." "No," Naruto yelled, struggling against the bindings. "We can't lose like this." Just when all hope seemed lost, the shadow beast within him surged with power, awakening a new level of strength. Naruto felt a sudden rush, an explosion of energy that resonated through him, amplifying the connection with the shadow beast. With a roar, Naruto unleashed a wave of energy that shattered the tendrils, freeing himself and his friends. "We won't give up. Now," Sasuke shouted, channeling his chakra into his blade. One more time, Naruto and Sakura followed suit, combining their powers once more. Together, they yelled in unison. As they charged forward, Nyx realized too late the danger they posed. The combined energy of the three surged forward, enveloping Nyx in a brilliant explosion that lit up the sky, casting away the darkness and revealing the dawn. When the light faded, silence enveloped the battlefield. They stood there, panting, sweat trickling down their brows as they searched for any sign of Nyx. "I think we did it," Sakura said, a mix of relief and disbelief in her voice. Naruto nodded, his heart racing. But at what cost? As the sun rose on the horizon, casting golden light over the remnants of the battlefield, they knew their journey was far from over. The shadows of the past would continue to loom. But together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. With newfound strength and determination, Naruto felt a fire ignite within him, one fueled by the bonds forged through battle. Whatever darkness awaited, he was ready to confront it, alongside his friends. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the remnants of the dark storm, illuminating the battlefield, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood amidst the dissipating shadows. The ground, still scorched and marked by the earlier clash, began to glow with the warmth of dawn, signifying a new beginning. "Is it really over?" Sakura asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She gazed at the horizon, where the sky shifted from dark to vibrant hues of orange and pink, reflecting hope and renewal. Sasuke, still catching his breath, surveyed the area. "For now, yes. But we need to remain vigilant." Nyx's words echo in my mind. "This might not be the last we see of him or whatever forces he serves." Naruto nodded, feeling a weight settle on his shoulders. "He mentioned we awakened something. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't just about us defeating Kaiju or Nyx. There's something bigger at play." As if sensing their unease, the shadow beast within Naruto stirred, its energy weaving around him in a comforting embrace. The bond they had forged in battle now felt stronger, an anchor in the tumultuous sea of uncertainty. "We need to regroup with the village," Sasuke suggested, his voice steady. "They'll want to know what happened and ensure everyone is safe." "Right," Naruto agreed, feeling a rush of urgency. "We can't leave them in the dark, especially after everything that happened." With a collective nod, the trio set off toward Konoha, each step echoing their resolve. The journey back felt different, the weight of their recent battles still lingered. But there was also an undercurrent of hope that thrummed through them. As they approached the village gates, the familiar sights of Konoha welcomed them back. The bustling streets were filled with villagers going about their daily routines, laughter and chatter filling the air. Yet, amid the normalcy, a palpable tension hung like a thin veil, an unspoken acknowledgement of the events that had transpired. When they entered the village, whispers followed them. The news of the battle with the Kaiju and Nyx had spread quickly, igniting curiosity and concern among the villagers. Naruto spotted a group of shinobi gathered near the entrance. their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. "Look who's back," one of them called out, stepping forward. "You guys actually took down a kaiju?" "And Nyx?" Sakura offered a small smile, relief flooding her as she realized their victory had not gone unnoticed. "Yeah. It was tough. But we made it through." Sasuke's brow furrowed. "We need to gather the leaders and discuss what happened. There's a larger threat looming, and we can't afford to be caught off guard." As they made their way to the Hokage's office, the villagers parted, their eyes filled with respect and admiration. Naruto felt a swell of pride as he walked through the streets, each step reinforcing the bonds he had with his home and its people. When they arrived at the Hokage's office, they were greeted by Tsunade, who had gathered the village's top leaders and a few elite shinobi. Her expression was serious, a stark contrast to the warm welcome the villagers had given them. "Report," she commanded, her voice firm. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura exchanged glances before Naruto stepped forward. "We faced a powerful kaiju and a being called Nyx, the harbinger of shadows. They were after something that we don't fully understand. But Nyx hinted that our victory was only the beginning. There are greater threats out there." The room fell silent as Tsunade absorbed the information, her brow furrowing deeper with each word. "This is troubling. I've heard whispers of disturbances in other villages as well. We need to prepare our defenses and gather intelligence on any potential threats. We should strengthen our alliances," Sakura suggested, her voice steady. "If there are more like Nyx out there, we can't face them alone." Sasuke nodded in agreement. "We'll need to train harder and find new techniques to counter whatever is coming." Tsunade nodded, appreciation in her eyes. "Good thinking. I'll send out envoys to neighboring villages. We need to unite our forces and share what we know." As they discussed their next steps, Naruto felt a surge of determination. This was their home, and they would protect it at all costs. The bonds forged in battle were now tied to something greater, a shared purpose that would guide them through the shadows that threatened their world. After the meeting, the trio stepped out onto the balcony overlooking Konoha, the sun shining brightly above them. The village thrived below, a tapestry of life and color, and it fueled Naruto's resolve. "What now?" Sakura asked, leaning against the railing. Naruto turned to his friends, determination etched on his face. "We train. We strengthen our bonds. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Sasuke smirked, a hint of pride in his voice. "And if anyone dares challenge us, they'll find out just how strong we've become." With the sun shining down, casting a golden hue over their faces, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood united, ready to face the challenges ahead. The dawn of new beginnings had arrived, and with it came the promise of hope, friendship, and an unbreakable bond that would guide them through the trials yet to come. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity in Konoha. News of Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura's victory over the kaiju and Nyx had spread far and wide, invigorating the villagers with hope. Yet beneath the surface of this renewed spirit lay an undercurrent of anxiety. Whispers of lurking dangers and greater threats fueled a sense of urgency among the shinobi, prompting the Hokage to implement rigorous training and preparation. Naruto stood at the training grounds, the early morning sun casting a warm glow across the open space. He watched as fellow ninjas practiced their techniques, the sound of shuriken cutting through the air and the occasional clash of chakra resonating around him. Today, he had gathered his closest friends to hone their skills further, aware that they would need every ounce of strength to face whatever lay ahead. "Hey, guys, ready for a serious training session?" Naruto called out, a grin stretching across his face. He felt the familiar surge of excitement coursing through him. "Ready as I'll ever be," Sakura replied, tying her hair back tightly. "But we need to focus on more than just physical strength. We have to work on strategy and teamwork too." Sasuke nodded, a determined look in his eyes. "We need to push our limits. I've been working on enhancing my Susanoo and developing new techniques. But we should also find ways to incorporate your Shadow Beast's powers." Naruto. "Right? We've gotta figure out how to make that work with our jutsus." Naruto agreed, enthusiasm bubbling within him. "The Shadow Beast felt even stronger after our fight with Nyx. I think we can combine its power with my Rasengan. Then let's get started." Sakura said, her voice firm as she stepped forward. I'll focus on enhancing my chakra control while you two work on your techniques. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances, nodding in unison. Let's go. They began their training in earnest. Starting with simple exercises to warm up, Naruto channeled his chakra, summoning a few shadow clones to help him practice his Rasengan. The familiar swirling sphere of energy began to take shape in his hand, glowing with an intensity that made his heart race. As he hurled it at a nearby target, the impact sent shards of wood flying, leaving a perfect hole in the center. Nice job, Naruto. But can you do it with one hand? Sasuke challenged, a smirk on his face. Of course. Naruto replied, his confidence surging. He focused harder, concentrating on the flow of chakra. With a flick of his wrist, he formed another Rasengan, this time effortlessly maneuvering it with just one hand before launching it at the target again. Looks like I underestimated you, Sasuke said, his tone lightening. But we can't let our guard down. The real challenge is combining our abilities. Sakura joined them, her own chakra flaring as she performed a series of rapid-fire punches and kicks, creating a flurry of cherry blossom petals that danced around her. Okay. How about we work on that right now? Naruto. Focus on enhancing the Rasengan with the Shadow Beast's energy. And I'll support you with my chakra. Got it? Naruto exclaimed, feeling the energy of the Shadow Beast pulse within him. He closed his eyes for a moment, visualizing the connection between them. Shadow Beast. Let's do this together. The familiar sensation of the Shadow Beast enveloped him, its energy intertwining with his own. The Rasengan in his hand began to shift, taking on a dark hue as the shadows twisted and danced around it, creating an even more formidable force. Here we go. Naruto shouted, launching the enhanced Rasengan at the target. The moment it made contact, an explosion of dark energy erupted, sending shockwaves through the training grounds. Wow. Sakura gasped, her eyes wide. That's incredible. You're really getting the hang of it. Sasuke crossed his arms, a hint of pride on his face. We can build on that. Now, let's see how it pairs with my Susanoo. Naruto grinned, excitement bubbling up inside him. Let's do it. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the trio continued to push their limits, experimenting with new techniques and combinations. They practiced tirelessly, each session building upon the last, their synergy growing stronger with every movement. In the days that followed, word of their training spread through Konoha. Fellow shinobi began to gather, curious to witness the new techniques and to learn from the trio's relentless dedication. As their training progressed, they drew in others, forming a group of shinobi eager to enhance their skills. Gather round, everyone. Naruto called out one afternoon, standing atop a rock to address the growing crowd. We're all here because we want to protect our home. Right? So let's share what we've learned. The enthusiasm of the crowd was palpable. Naruto felt a surge of motivation as he realized that their training was fostering a community spirit. As they worked together, their bonds strengthened not only as shinobi but as friends and allies. As weeks passed, the training sessions evolved into a daily ritual, drawing more villagers into the fold. They practiced defensive formations, offense techniques, and even developed strategies to counter various threats. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura found themselves mentoring others, imparting their knowledge and skills to the next generation of shinobi. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of training, the trio gathered around a small fire at the training grounds, exhaustion mingling with satisfaction. The stars twinkled above them, casting a soft glow that wrapped around them like a blanket. Look at how far we've come, Sakura remarked, gazing into the fire. It feels like just yesterday we were kids, struggling to prove ourselves. Naruto chuckled, memories flooding back. Yeah. But we've grown a lot since then. I wouldn't trade our journey for anything. Sasuke nodded, his gaze distant. There's still so much we don't know. But at least we're not alone anymore. We have each other. And that makes all the difference. As they sat together, laughter and camaraderie filled the air, the weight of the world lifting momentarily. Each flicker of the fire reflected the strength of their friendship, a bond that would carry them through whatever darkness lay ahead. Tomorrow, we'll focus on teamwork drills, Naruto said, breaking the comfortable silence. I want everyone to be able to rely on each other in battle. Good idea. Sakura agreed. The stronger our connections, the more powerful we become. Sasuke glanced at his friends. A small smile tugging at his lips. Let's make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. As the night deepened, they shared stories and laughter, each moment weaving their fates together in the tapestry of time. They knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but with their newfound strength and unity, they felt ready to face anything. With the fire crackling softly and the stars shimmering above, they settled into a comfortable silence, the warmth of friendship enveloping them as they prepared for the trials yet to come. The morning sun broke over Konoha, casting its golden rays over the village as the shinobi began to gather at the training grounds. Naruto stood at the forefront, his spirit buoyed by the camaraderie that had blossomed in the weeks since their victory over Nyx. They had transformed the training grounds into a hub of activity, a testament to their collective determination to strengthen their village. All right. Everyone, gather up. Naruto called, his voice echoing across the space filled with familiar faces and eager newcomers. The shinobi assembled, their expressions a mix of anticipation and excitement. Today, we're focusing on teamwork drills. We've got to work together if we want to face whatever's coming our way. Sasuke stepped forward, crossing his arms with an air of authority. We'll be splitting into pairs and running through a series of scenarios. Communication is key, so pay attention to each other's movements and strategies. Sakura added, and remember, we're not just training to defeat enemies. We're training to protect each other and the village. The group broke off into pairs, the atmosphere charged with energy as they began their drills. Naruto felt a surge of pride watching his friends and fellow shinobi work together, their movements becoming increasingly synchronized. He moved among them, offering encouragement and guidance, relishing in the sense of community that had formed. As the sun climbed higher, Naruto's attention shifted to a distant commotion. A group of villagers was gathered near the village entrance, their voices filled with urgency. He could see familiar faces among them, Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino. Concern etched on their features as they spoke in hushed tones. Hey, what's going on? Naruto called out, striding over to the group. Shikamaru turned to him, his brow furrowed. Naruto, you need to see this. There's been a report of strange sightings near the forest's edge. Some villagers claim to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the trees. Naruto's heart sank. Shadowy figures? Like Nyx? I don't know, Choji replied, shaking his head. But it's causing a lot of fear. We need to check it out before it escalates. Sasuke joined them, a serious expression crossing his face. Let's gather a few shinobi and investigate. We can't let fear spread through the village. Agreed, Naruto said, the urgency of the situation igniting his resolve. Let's move out. As they gathered a small team of shinobi, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling of unease settling in his gut. They had barely begun to understand the threat posed by Nyx, and the thought of another danger looming on the horizon sent chills down his spine. Yet, he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. The group made their way through the village and into the surrounding forest, the atmosphere thick with tension. The trees loomed above them, casting long shadows that danced in the dappled sunlight. As they approached the area where the sightings had occurred, a palpable silence descended, amplifying the rustling of leaves and distant birdsong. Stay alert, Sasuke instructed, his senses sharp. We don't know what we're dealing with yet. Naruto nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the shadow beast within him stir, a silent reminder of the power he possessed. As they pressed deeper into the forest, the tension grew thicker, each step echoing the unspoken fears of the group. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the trees, causing the group to halt in their tracks. What was that? Ino whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know, Naruto replied, his pulse quickening. But it sounds close. Before anyone could respond, a dark figure darted between the trees, its movements swift and fluid. The air felt charged with energy, and Naruto's instincts kicked in. Get ready, he shouted, channeling his chakra as he prepared to defend his friends. The shadowy figure emerged from the trees, revealing a creature that was both familiar and terrifying. Its form was reminiscent of the kaiju they had fought before. But it appeared smaller, more agile, and distinctly different. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light. And it crouched low, ready to pounce. "Stay back," Sasuke commanded, summoning his Sharingan as he prepared for battle. "We'll handle this." Naruto felt the power of the shadow beast surge within him, instinctively reacting to the threat. "No? We should try to reason with it first," he shouted, recalling the words of the villagers who had seen the creature. They had described it as frightened, confused. It might be lost or scared. "Now is not the time for mercy, Naruto," Sasuke retorted, narrowing his eyes at the beast. "We can't take any chances." Before they could decide on a course of action, the creature lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air with incredible speed. Naruto acted on instinct, summoning a shadow clone to intercept the attack. The clone collided with the creature, but the force sent both of them sprawling to the ground. "Watch out!" Sakura yelled, leaping into action as she delivered a powerful kick to the creature's side, trying to subdue it. The creature recoiled but quickly regained its footing, snarling as it prepared to launch another attack. Naruto's heart raced as he watched his friends engage in combat. He knew they had to find a way to communicate with the creature, to understand its intentions. "Shadow Beast, help me," he shouted, focusing on the connection he had forged with the dark power within him. As the energy flowed through him, he felt a rush of strength, and the shadows around him began to pulse with life. The creature paused, its glowing eyes locking onto Naruto. He stepped forward, holding his hands up in a non-threatening gesture. "Wait, we don't want to hurt you. We're here to help." The creature hesitated, its body tense as it regarded Naruto. The tension in the air shifted, and for a brief moment, the shadows around them began to sway as if responding to Naruto's plea. But just as hope flickered, the creature let out a piercing roar, shaking the very ground beneath them. It lunged once more, this time aiming directly at Naruto. "Naruto!" Sasuke shouted, his voice laced with urgency. In that split second, Naruto's instincts kicked in. "Shadow Beast! Now!" he cried, channeling the power of the Shadow Beast in a desperate bid to protect his friends. A surge of energy enveloped him, and with a roar of his own, Naruto unleashed a wave of darkness that collided with the creature. The impact sent shockwaves through the forest, knocking the creature off its feet. As the dust settled, Naruto stood at the forefront, breathless and trembling. The creature lay on the ground, disoriented but unharmed. Naruto's heart raced as he realized the potential for communication lay within his grasp. "Don't attack. Let's try to talk," he urged, stepping closer. "I know you can understand me." Sasuke and Sakura exchanged glances, unsure of how to proceed. But Naruto felt a deep connection with the creature, a sense of shared struggle that transcended the fear of battle. Slowly, the creature raised its head, its glowing eyes softening as it regarded Naruto with curiosity rather than hostility. "Why?" it rasped, its voice low and guttural. "Why do you not fear me?" Naruto's heart swelled at the response. "Because I know what it's like to be misunderstood. I want to help you. Please, tell me why you're here." The creature's expression shifted, and for the first time, Naruto sensed a flicker of vulnerability. "I was lost. I do not belong here. I only wanted to find a place where I was safe." Sakura stepped forward, her eyes softening as she caught a glimpse of the creature's sorrow. "You're not alone anymore. We can help you find safety. But you need to trust us." The creature hesitated, uncertainty clouding its eyes. "Trust is difficult. I understand," Naruto replied, his voice gentle yet firm. "I had to learn to trust too. But together, we can face whatever is out there." As the creature considered his words, a sudden realization washed over Naruto. This was more than just a fight. It was an opportunity to forge new alliances, to bring light into the shadows that threatened their world. The forest felt alive with energy, the tension easing as the creature began to lower its guard. "I will try," it said, its voice trembling. "But you must promise." "I am not a monster." "You're not a monster," Naruto assured, stepping closer. "You're one of us." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues through the trees, Naruto felt a shift in the air. A new alliance being forged. The shadows that had once threatened to consume them were now a source of strength, binding them together in their shared journey. "Let's return to the village," Sasuke suggested, his tone softer than before. "We can find a way to help you. Together." As they turned to leave, the creature followed them, hesitant yet determined. In that moment, Naruto realized that even in the darkest shadows, there was always a glimmer of hope waiting to emerge. The return to Konoha was marked by a newfound sense of purpose. Naruto led the way, flanked by his friends and the creature that had once posed a threat. The villagers watched with wary eyes, whispering among themselves as the unusual procession approached the village gates. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced at their feet. "Keep close," Naruto murmured to the creature, whose name remained unknown but felt increasingly familiar with each passing moment. "Just follow my lead." The creature nodded, its massive form seemingly shrinking with each step it took beside Naruto. The villagers' expressions ranged from fear to curiosity, but Naruto remained steadfast. He had seen the creature's heart, felt its pain, and was determined to show his village that it was more than just a monster. As they crossed the threshold into the village, Naruto raised his hand, signaling for silence. "Everyone, please listen," he called out, his voice echoing in the evening air. "This is not a threat. This is a friend." A murmur spread through the crowd, skepticism evident on many faces. Shikamaru stepped forward, his brows furrowed in thought. "Naruto, are you sure? We don't know anything about it." "I know it's scary," Naruto replied, meeting Shikamaru's gaze with unwavering conviction. "But it's lost and scared, just like many of us have been. We can help it." Sasuke leaned in, his voice low. "But what if it turns on us? We can't afford to be reckless." "Trust me," Naruto insisted, his heart racing. "If we don't try to understand it, we'll never know what it's capable of." After a tense moment, Sakura stepped beside Naruto, her support unwavering. "I believe in him. If Naruto sees potential for good in it, maybe we should too." As the villagers exchanged glances, Choji stepped forward, his expression resolute. "We've fought side by side with Naruto before. If he believes this creature can be an ally, I'm willing to give it a chance." The murmurs of dissent began to fade, replaced by a cautious curiosity. Naruto felt a swell of hope as he saw the villagers' apprehension slowly transform into tentative acceptance. "Let's take it to the Hokage," Ino suggested, her eyes sparkling with determination. "If anyone can figure this out, it's Tsunade." With a nod of agreement, the group made their way to the Hokage's office, the creature following closely behind. As they ascended the steps to the tower, Naruto could feel the weight of the villagers' gaze, their fears lingering like shadows. He focused on the creature beside him, knowing that every step they took together was a step toward bridging the gap between them. Upon reaching Tsunade's office, Naruto knocked on the door, his heart pounding. "Tsunade, we need to talk. Come in." Her voice boomed from within. Naruto pushed open the door, revealing Tsunade seated at her desk, her expression shifting from annoyance to surprise at the sight of the creature behind him. "What in the world?" she began, but Naruto cut her off. "Wait. Before you say anything, let me explain," he urged, stepping forward. "This creature isn't here to harm us. It's lost and confused, and we need to help it." Tsunade raised an eyebrow, her skepticism palpable. "And how do you propose we do that? This thing could be dangerous." "Naruto, I know it looks intimidating," Naruto replied, his voice steady. "But I've spoken to it. It's scared and just wants a place to belong. We can't judge it by its appearance." Tsunade studied him for a long moment, her gaze piercing. "You have a knack for getting yourself into trouble, Naruto. But if what you say is true, then we need to approach this carefully." Sasuke interjected. "We've fought many battles together. If Naruto believes there's a chance for this creature to help us, we should explore it." After another pause, Tsunade sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. "All right. But we need to keep a close eye on it. We can't afford any mistakes." Naruto nodded eagerly, relief flooding through him. "Thank you, Tsunade. We'll show you it can be trusted." Tsunade motioned for the creature to step forward. Let's see what we're working with. What's your name? The creature hesitated, glancing at Naruto for encouragement. I do not have a name, it admitted, its voice low and hesitant. I am only known by what I am. That's not right. Naruto exclaimed, determination igniting within him. You need a name. How about we call you Cage? It means shadow in Japanese. And it fits you. A flicker of emotion passed through Cage's eyes as it processed the name. Cage, I like it. Great. Naruto grinned, turning back to Tsunade. See? Cage isn't just a monster. It's a friend. We can train together. Learn from each other. Tsunade rubbed her temples, clearly weighing her options. Very well. We'll allow Cage to stay under observation. But Naruto, if it poses any threat, you need to be ready to act. Understood? Understood? Naruto declared, a surge of excitement coursing through him. Good. Tsunade replied, then leaned forward, her expression serious. But I want you all to be cautious. We don't know what else might be out there. And we need to prepare for any potential danger. As the meeting concluded, Naruto felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. They were treading into uncharted territory. And he knew that with Cage by their side, they could face any challenges that lay ahead. The following days were a whirlwind of activity as Naruto and his friends worked to integrate Cage into their training regimen. They trained together, blending the strengths of a shinobi with the raw power of a kaiju. Cage adapted quickly, learning to harness its abilities alongside Naruto's unique chakra. Alright. Cage? Let's try that move again. Naruto called, excitement bubbling in his voice. They stood at the training ground, surrounded by the familiar sights of Konoha. The distant sounds of laughter and chatter resonating through the air. Cage nodded, its massive form towering over Naruto but moving with surprising grace. Understood. I will follow your lead. Okay. Just like we practiced. Channel your energy into a defensive barrier. Naruto instructed, feeling the surge of energy flow between them. We're going to create a shield together. As they concentrated, shadows danced around Cage, forming a protective barrier that flickered with power. Naruto felt the warmth of his chakra intertwining with Cage's energy, forming a bond that transcended words. With a burst of energy, they unleashed the shield, its dark aura expanding outward. Yes. That's it. Naruto cheered, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Sasuke watched from the sidelines, a rare smile breaking through his typically stoic demeanor. You two make a good team. Thanks, Sasuke. Naruto beamed, turning back to Cage. We're just getting started. There's so much more we can do. As the training session continued, Naruto felt a sense of unity with Cage and his friends. They were building something special, forging connections that would help them overcome any obstacle in their path. But beneath the excitement lay an undercurrent of uncertainty. The villagers were still adjusting to Cage's presence, and Naruto knew that skepticism lingered just below the surface. One evening, as Naruto trained late into the night, he felt the weight of his responsibilities bearing down on him. Sitting atop the Hokage monument, he gazed out over Konoha, the village illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns. Why are you still out here? Cage asked, its shadowy form appearing beside him. Shouldn't you be resting? I can't help but think about the challenges ahead, Naruto admitted, his voice soft. I want to make sure you're accepted. I know it's not easy, especially after everything we've faced. Cage tilted its head, a flicker of understanding in its glowing eyes. You wish to protect your village. I understand that burden. Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of their shared experiences. We're not so different. We both want to belong somewhere. Together, we can change things. Change is difficult, Cage replied, its voice thoughtful. But you have already taken the first step. Your willingness to trust is a strength. Yeah. Naruto smiled, feeling a sense of hope wash over him. If we work together, we can show everyone that you're not a monster. You're part of our family now. Cage's form shifted slightly, the shadows swirling around it. Family, I have never known that feeling. But I will try. With renewed determination, Naruto stood, his eyes sparkling with conviction. Let's show them what we can do. Cage? Together, We'll prove that strength can come from understanding. As the stars twinkled above them, the two stood united against the challenges that lay ahead, ready to face whatever darkness threatened their world. The days following Kage's acceptance into the village were filled with both excitement and challenges. The villagers slowly began to warm to the creature, especially as they witnessed its gentle demeanor during training sessions. However, Naruto knew that true acceptance would take time, and he was determined to lead the way. One morning, Naruto gathered his friends at the training grounds. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the landscape. "All right, everyone," he announced, his energy infectious. "Today, we're going to push our limits. Kage and I have been working on some new techniques, and I think it's time to test them out." Kage stood beside him, its towering form exuding an aura of strength. "I am ready," it replied, its voice steady. Sakura raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "What exactly do you have in mind, Naruto?" "I want to combine our abilities," Naruto explained, excitement bubbling within him. "Kage can create powerful shadow barriers, and I can enhance them with my chakra. We can develop a whole new level of defense and offense." Sasuke leaned back, a thoughtful look on his face. "That could be useful in battle, but we need to ensure we can control it." Naruto nodded. "That's why we're practicing today. If we can master this technique, we'll be ready for anything." As they began their training, Naruto guided Kage through the process of channeling energy into its shadow constructs. "Focus on our connection," Naruto instructed. "Feel the chakra flowing between us." Kage closed its eyes, concentrating. Shadows began to swirl around it, coalescing into a dome-like barrier. Naruto infused it with his chakra, and the shield glimmered with a dark, pulsating light. "Let's test its strength," Naruto shouted, stepping back to create some distance. He summoned a shadow clone and prepared to launch an attack. "Okay, clone. Use a shadow clone jutsu and hit the barrier." The clone raced forward, gathering chakra for a Rasengan. As it struck the barrier, a shockwave erupted, rippling through the air. The barrier held firm, absorbing the impact. "Good. Now let's see how it holds against something stronger," Naruto said, a grin spreading across his face. "Kage, let's try to expand the barrier." "Understood," Kage responded, concentrating harder. The shadows around them deepened, expanding the barrier's reach. Naruto felt his chakra intertwining with Kage's, strengthening their connection. "Now," Naruto shouted, charging up his Rasen Shuriken. "Let's combine our powers." He launched the swirling attack at the barrier, and as it made contact, the combined energy resonated throughout the training ground. The barrier flickered momentarily but held, deflecting the energy outward in a brilliant display of light. "Wow!" Sakura exclaimed, her eyes wide. "That was incredible." Sasuke nodded, a smirk on his face. "You two are getting the hang of this. But we still need to work on control." Naruto took a deep breath, exhilaration coursing through him. "Right? Let's keep going. We can't let up now." The group continued their training, each member pushing their limits and encouraging Kage. As they honed their skills, they also worked on strategies for using their combined powers in real-world scenarios. Later that evening, as they wrapped up their training session, Naruto and Kage sat by a small fire, the warm glow flickering around them. The stars twinkled above, and the village was peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos they had faced. "You did well today," Kage said, its voice softening. "I felt the strength in our bond." "Thanks, Kage," Naruto replied, smiling. "I couldn't have done it without you. I'm glad you're here. Your acceptance means a lot to me," Kage admitted. "I have never felt this way before." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked, curiosity piqued. "Before I met you, I was a creature born of fear and destruction," Kage explained, shadows swirling around it. "Now I feel a purpose, a desire to protect, to be part of something greater." Naruto's expression grew serious. "You're part of something greater, Kage. We're all in this together. We protect each other and our home. That's what it means to be a ninja." Kage looked thoughtful, its glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. "Then I will do my best to uphold that purpose." Naruto grinned, feeling the warmth of camaraderie. I know you will. We'll train harder and show everyone what we can achieve together." As the night wore on, the two continued to share stories and plans, each moment solidifying their bond. They spoke of dreams and aspirations, of what it meant to be accepted. The next day, Tsunade called a meeting with the village leaders. The mood was serious, and Naruto could feel the weight of anticipation hanging in the air. He stood beside Kage, a sense of pride swelling within him. "Thank you all for gathering," Tsunade began, her tone grave. "As you know, we've had a new addition to our village. Kage has proven itself to be a powerful ally, but we need to discuss the implications of its presence." A murmur of concern rippled through the room. Shikamaru spoke up. "We can't ignore the fact that Kage is still a kaiju. There are risks involved in having such a creature among us." "I understand your concerns," Tsunade replied, her gaze firm. "But we cannot dismiss the potential it offers. Naruto has shown great progress in training with Kage, and they are forming a bond that can benefit the village. Is it wise to trust a creature that could potentially turn on us?" One of the elders questioned, skepticism lacing his words. "Trust is earned, not given," Naruto interjected, stepping forward. "Kage is not just a monster. It's a friend. We've trained together, and I've seen its heart. It wants to protect Konoha, just like we do." The room fell silent, the weight of Naruto's words hanging in the air. Tsunade nodded, encouraging him to continue. "If we work together, we can make Kage a symbol of unity instead of fear. It can help us defend our village from threats we haven't even imagined yet." Naruto's passion ignited a flicker of hope among the leaders. One of the council members spoke up. "If it is willing to fight for our village, then we must find a way to incorporate it into our defenses." "Exactly," Naruto exclaimed, determination shining in his eyes. "Let's train together, share techniques, and prepare for anything that comes our way." After a lengthy discussion, the leaders finally reached a consensus. They would allow Kage to remain in Konoha, under strict supervision and with specific training goals. As they exited the meeting room, Naruto felt a mix of relief and excitement. "We did it, Kage," he cheered, turning to his companion. "You're officially part of Konoha." Kage's form shimmered with joy, its shadows dancing around it. "Thank you, Naruto. I will honor this trust." Sasuke walked alongside them, a smirk on his face. "Not bad, Naruto. You really have a way of rallying people behind your ideas. I just want everyone to see how amazing Kage is." Naruto replied, beaming. "We can do great things together." As they made their way back to the training grounds, Naruto's heart soared with hope. He knew that challenges lay ahead, but with Kage by their side and the support of his friends, he felt ready to face anything. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Naruto, Kage, and their friends trained tirelessly, honing their skills and developing new techniques. Kage's power grew, and so did its understanding of the world around it. But as they trained, dark clouds began to gather on the horizon. Rumors of kaiju sightings in nearby villages stirred unrest. Reports of creatures attacking towns and spreading chaos echoed through the land. "Something big is happening," Shikamaru said one evening, his brow furrowed with concern. "If these kaiju are getting more aggressive, we need to be prepared." "Then let's prepare," Naruto declared, determination in his eyes. "We won't let fear control us. Kage will help us defend our home." As the sun set over Konoha, Naruto and Kage stood side by side, gazing toward the horizon. They could feel the storm brewing, but with each passing day, their bond grew stronger, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The following days were filled with tension as the village braced for the impending threat of kaiju attacks. Reports from neighboring villages described terrifying encounters with monstrous creatures, forcing the leaders of Konoha to mobilize their forces. Training sessions intensified, and the air was thick with determination and anxiety. Naruto, Kage, and their friends continued to push their limits, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Every morning, they gathered at the training grounds, practicing their combined techniques. With each session, Kage's mastery over its powers grew, and Naruto felt more confident in their ability to work together. One afternoon, while they were training, Sakura suddenly stopped and looked towards the horizon. "Do you see that?" she asked, pointing to a distant cloud of dust rising in the air. Naruto squinted, his heart racing. Is it a kaiju? Sasuke activated his Sharingan, narrowing his eyes. It's hard to tell from this distance, but it's definitely something large. Let's go. Naruto shouted, adrenaline coursing through his veins. We need to warn the village. As they raced back to Konoha, Naruto's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. What if they couldn't stop the kaiju? What if Kage was too late to prove its loyalty? But deep down, he knew they had trained hard and grown stronger together. They could face this challenge head on. When they arrived at the village, the atmosphere was charged with urgency. Villagers were gathering supplies, and the shinobi forces were on high alert. Tsunade stood at the forefront, coordinating the defense efforts. Naruto, she called, spotting him as he approached. You're just in time. We have a kaiju headed our way, and we need all hands on deck. Where is it? Naruto asked, his resolve firm. Kage and I can help. Tsunade nodded, her expression serious. It's moving fast, and we need to evacuate the civilians first. We can't let anyone get hurt. Got it. Naruto replied, turning to Kage. We'll help with the evacuation. Then we'll confront the kaiju together. As they began to organize the evacuation, Naruto felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was the moment he had been training for. He and Kage were ready to prove themselves. Hours later, the sky darkened as the kaiju approached, its massive form casting a shadow over the village. The ground trembled with each step it took, and the sound of its roar echoed through the air, sending chills down the spines of those who heard it. Naruto stood at the forefront of the assembled shinobi, his heart pounding in his chest. Everyone, stay focused, he shouted, looking at his friends and the villagers behind them. We can do this together. Kage stepped beside him, its presence reassuring. I will protect you, Naruto. Tsunade raised her hand, commanding attention. We need to hold the line and buy time for the villagers to evacuate. Shinobi teams, prepare for combat. As the kaiju drew nearer, Naruto could see the creature's scales glimmering in the fading light. It looked fierce, its eyes glowing with a primal rage. It's huge, Naruto exclaimed. But we can't back down. The kaiju let out another deafening roar, shaking the ground. It charged forward, its massive limbs pounding against the earth. Without hesitation, Naruto activated his chakra, channeling energy into Kage. Let's go. Kage responded instinctively, shadows swirling around it as it transformed into its battle form. The air thickened with dark energy, and Naruto felt a rush of power surging through him. Now, Naruto shouted, directing Kage. Create the barrier. Kage unleashed a massive shadow barrier, expanding it in front of the charging kaiju. The creature collided with the barrier, sending shockwaves through the area. Naruto strained, pouring chakra into the barrier to reinforce it. It's holding, he called out, determination fueling his resolve. Sasuke and Sakura joined the fray, unleashing their jutsu in tandem with Naruto and Kage. Fireballs soared through the air, and wind blades sliced at the kaiju, attempting to weaken it. But the creature roared, shaking off their attacks and charging again. Stay together, Tsunade ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. We need to find a way to bring it down. Naruto could feel the strain on Kage as it struggled to maintain the barrier. Kage, we have to work together. I'll enhance your attacks. But we need to be quick. Understood, Kage replied, focusing its energy. Let's combine our power. Naruto channeled his chakra into Kage, enhancing its strength. Shadows coalesced around the creature as it prepared to attack. Now, unleash your shadow slash. With a fierce determination, Kage swung its arm, a wave of shadow energy slicing through the air toward the kaiju. The attack struck true, carving through the creature's tough exterior and causing it to stagger. Nice shot, Naruto cheered, adrenaline surging through him. Let's keep it up. But the kaiju was far from defeated. It roared in anger, shaking off the pain and retaliating with a swipe of its massive claws. Naruto barely had time to react as he jumped to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. Watch out, Sakura shouted, firing off another jutsu to distract the creature. Sasuke followed suit, launching a barrage of shuriken infused with chakra. The projectiles struck the kaiju, but they only seemed to infuriate it further. "We need to aim for a weak spot," Tsunade shouted, her eyes scanning the kaiju's form for any vulnerabilities. Naruto felt a sense of urgency building inside him. "Cage, we need to find a way to distract it so we can hit its weak point." Cage nodded, its shadows shifting as it prepared for another attack. "I will create an opening. Be ready." As Cage unleashed another wave of shadow energy, Naruto focused his chakra. "Let's combine our powers one last time. We can do this." Cage gathered its energy, and Naruto felt their bond strengthen, a connection that fueled their determination. They unleashed their combined attack, a massive wave of dark energy that surged toward the kaiju. "Now, go for its eyes," Naruto yelled, directing their combined attack toward the creature's vulnerable point. The kaiju roared in pain as the attack struck, causing it to stumble back. The force of the blow caused a shockwave, sending debris flying through the air. "Now's our chance," Sasuke shouted, launching himself toward the kaiju. "Cover me!" Sasuke charged forward, his Sharingan flaring as he prepared to deliver a decisive blow. Sakura followed close behind, ready to support him. "Don't let up," Naruto yelled, urgency in his voice. "We can take it down." Cage focused its energy, ready to support their friends. "I will create an opening." As Cage unleashed another wave of shadows, Naruto felt a surge of power. He channeled every ounce of chakra he had into the attack, determined to protect his friends and village. With a final, united effort, they struck the kaiju, delivering a powerful blow that echoed through the valley. The creature roared in agony, staggering back as it finally succumbed to their combined might. As the dust settled, the village erupted into cheers. Naruto stood panting, adrenaline coursing through him as he looked at his friends and Cage, a smile breaking across his face. "We did it!" he shouted, elation flooding his heart. Cage returned to its smaller form, shadows dancing around it as it glowed with triumph. "Together, we are strong." Sasuke and Sakura joined Naruto, a sense of camaraderie bonding them further. "You really pulled it off, Naruto," Sasuke said, nodding in respect. "Yeah," Sakura added, grinning widely. "I'm so proud of us." As they celebrated their victory, Naruto knew this was only the beginning. The village had faced its first major challenge, and they had emerged stronger together. But he also sensed that darker times lay ahead. Later that evening, as the village celebrated its victory, Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, gazing out over Konoha. The night sky sparkled with stars, and the village glowed with the warmth of camaraderie. "Cage," he said, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. "We've come so far already." "Yes," Cage replied, standing beside him. "But our journey has just begun. There are more challenges ahead, and we must remain vigilant." Naruto nodded, determination settling in his chest. "I know. But with you by my side, I feel ready for anything." As the celebration continued below, Naruto felt a sense of hope blossoming within him. They had proven themselves against a powerful foe, and together, they would face whatever came next. As the festivities continued in Konoha, Naruto felt a growing sense of unease. Though they had triumphed over the kaiju, whispers of other threats lingered in the air, and Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that this victory was only a prelude to something much darker. After the celebration wound down, he gathered with his closest friends on the rooftop of the Hokage building, where the stars shone brightly above. They shared laughter and relief, but Naruto's mind was still racing. "Do you think that was the only kaiju?" Sakura asked, breaking the silence, her brow furrowed with concern. "It can't be," Sasuke replied, crossing his arms. "If there's one, there are bound to be more. We can't let our guard down." "Exactly," Naruto added, a hint of worry creeping into his voice. "We need to prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. Cage and I will make sure the village is ready." Cage, who had reverted to its smaller form, nodded. "We must strengthen our bond. The kaiju are powerful, but together we can harness that power." As the group strategized, a sudden gust of wind whipped through the air, causing Naruto to shiver. He looked up, sensing a disturbance in the atmosphere. Something feels off. Before anyone could respond, the air crackled with energy, and a dark figure materialized before them. The figure was cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing ominously. "Who are you?" Naruto demanded, stepping protectively in front of his friends. The figure chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Naruto's spine. "You may call me Akuma. I have come to deliver a message to the mighty Naruto Uzumaki and his friends." Naruto clenched his fists, instinctively summoning Kage to stand beside him. "What do you want?" "I am here to warn you," Akuma replied, the shadows around him swirling. "The kaiju you faced was merely a pawn in a larger game. There are forces at play that seek to exploit the chaos they create." "What kind of forces?" Sasuke asked, his eyes narrowing. Akuma stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "A coalition of kaiju, led by one far more powerful than you can imagine. They seek to conquer the land, and they will not stop until they have taken everything from you." Naruto's heart raced at the implications. "How do you know this?" "I have seen the future," Akuma replied cryptically. "And if you wish to protect your village, you must train harder and prepare for the storm that is coming. You will face challenges that will test your very limits." "Enough with the riddles," Sakura shouted, her patience wearing thin. "What do you want from us?" "I seek no allegiance," Akuma replied. "I merely wish to offer a warning. You are stronger together. But you must learn to embrace the darkness within you to face what lies ahead." "Embrace the darkness?" Naruto echoed, confusion washing over him. "What do you mean?" Akuma smirked, his eyes glinting with mischief. "The power you possess is both a blessing and a curse. Kage has the potential to grant you unimaginable strength. But you must be careful. The line between power and corruption is thin, and once crossed, it may be impossible to return." Sasuke stepped forward, his expression serious. "We won't be swayed by your words. We will train, we will prepare, and we will protect our village. Then you will face your fate," Akuma said ominously, fading back into the shadows. "Remember my words, for they will echo in your mind when the time comes." The air grew still, and the group stood in silence, the weight of Akuma's message settling over them like a heavy fog. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine. The warning hung heavily in the air, and he knew that they had to take it seriously. The next few days were marked by intense training sessions. Naruto, Kage, Sasuke, and Sakura pushed themselves to their limits, honing their skills and learning to work together more effectively. They practiced not only their jutsu but also their teamwork, ensuring they could respond seamlessly in the heat of battle. During one particularly grueling session, Kage observed Naruto with keen interest. "You are strong, but there is still more within you that you have yet to unlock. Embrace your power." "What do you mean?" Naruto asked, panting as he wiped the sweat from his brow. "I thought I was pushing myself hard enough." Kage shifted closer, its shadows swirling around them. "You have the potential to merge our powers even further. You can wield the strength of kaiju, but only if you can accept the darkness within you." Naruto frowned, considering Kage's words. "Darkness. It sounds dangerous. Everything has its risks, Naruto. Power is no different. But if you learn to control it, you can protect your friends and your village," Kage replied, its voice steady. "Determined?" Naruto nodded. "All right. Let's do it." They began to train in earnest, focusing on merging their powers. Naruto felt the rush of chakra flowing through him, an exhilarating sensation as he learned to harness Kage's energy. He visualized their connection deepening, the shadows intertwining with his own chakra. "Good. Keep pushing," Kage encouraged, its voice ringing in his ears. Naruto focused harder, feeling the shadows around him shift and pulse with energy. As their powers intertwined, he could feel the darkness threatening to consume him, but he fought against it, channeling it instead. Suddenly, an explosion of energy erupted from within him. Shadows burst forth, enveloping the training grounds as Naruto felt a surge of strength like never before. The shadows coalesced into a towering form beside him, a kaiju-like silhouette made of dark energy. Naruto gasped, looking at the massive figure. "Kage, what is this?" "This is your true power," Kage explained, its voice echoing from within the shadows. "Embrace it, and let it guide you." With newfound confidence, Naruto raised his hand, commanding the shadowy figure to move. It followed his command, striking the ground and creating a shockwave that sent debris flying. "Whoa!" Naruto exclaimed, exhilaration coursing through him. "This is amazing. Remember, with great power comes responsibility. You must learn to control this new form," Kage cautioned. "Use it wisely." Naruto nodded, determination blazing in his eyes. "I will. I'll master this power so I can protect everyone." As they continued to train, the bonds between Naruto, Kage, and his friends deepened. They shared moments of laughter and frustration, pushing each other to new heights. But Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. Akuma's warning lingered in the back of his mind, a constant reminder of the darkness that loomed on the horizon. After a week of grueling training, they received alarming news. Another kaiju had been spotted approaching a nearby village. This time, they wouldn't be able to evacuate everyone in time. It was a test of their resolve and strength. Tsunade called an emergency meeting, gathering all available shinobi to strategize. "We cannot let this creature destroy another village. We must face it head on and protect the people." Naruto felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "We'll go," he said, determination ringing in his voice. "Kage and I can handle it." Sasuke and Sakura exchanged glances but nodded in agreement. "We'll back you up," Sasuke said. Tsunade placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Be careful, Naruto. The kaiju will be stronger this time. You have trained hard. But don't let your guard down." "I won't," Naruto promised, resolve flooding through him. "We're ready for this." As they set off for the village under threat, Naruto felt the thrill of anticipation mixed with a knot of anxiety in his stomach. The landscape blurred by as they raced through the trees, each step bringing them closer to the impending confrontation. When they arrived at the village, they found it in chaos. Villagers were fleeing, and the ground shook as a massive kaiju loomed over the buildings, its fierce eyes scanning for its next target. "All right, team, let's go," Naruto shouted, activating his chakra and summoning Kage to his side. The kaiju roared, its voice a low rumble that sent chills through the air. It charged forward, causing the earth to quake beneath its weight. Naruto felt the surge of power within him. "Kage, let's merge our strength." Kage responded instantly, shadows swirling around them as Naruto prepared to unleash their combined might. "Now, unleash the shadow." Together, they charged at the kaiju, a wave of energy surging forth as they prepared to confront the creature head-on. The battle was about to begin, and Naruto was determined to protect the village, no matter the cost. As Naruto and his friends approached the rampaging kaiju, the sheer size and ferocity of the creature sent a wave of tension rippling through the air. It was unlike any kaiju they had faced before. Its scales shimmered like molten rock, and its eyes burned with an insatiable hunger. "Stay alert," Sasuke called, his Sharingan activated. "We need to coordinate our attacks." Naruto felt the familiar surge of chakra as Kage enveloped him, merging their powers into a formidable force. "Let's do this, Kage. Let's show them what we've got." With a roar that echoed through the village, the kaiju charged, smashing its massive fists into the ground, sending shockwaves that knocked several villagers off their feet. The impact created a cloud of dust and debris that obscured their vision. "Cover the civilians," Sakura shouted, leaping into action. She used her medical ninjutsu to shield a group of fleeing villagers, forming a protective barrier around them. "Let's distract it," Naruto yelled, leaping forward. "Kage, now!" As Naruto unleashed the shadowy figure of Kage, it surged ahead, a colossal beast of darkness that matched the kaiju in size. The two titans clashed in a monumental collision, sending ripples through the ground. Naruto felt the rush of power as he guided Kage in combat. "Shadow Fist," he commanded, directing Kage to strike the kaiju's side. The shadowy fist connected, but the kaiju roared defiantly, its tough scales absorbing the impact. "Don't let up," Sasuke called, sprinting alongside Naruto. He formed hand signs, channeling his chakra into a powerful fireball. "Fire style. Fireball jutsu." The fireball shot through the air, striking the kaiju squarely in the face. It howled in anger, shaking its head and momentarily staggering back. "Now, Sakura!" Sasuke shouted. Sakura nodded, gathering her chakra. "I'm on it." Cherry blossom impact. She charged toward the kaiju, her fists glowing with green chakra, ready to strike. As she leapt into the air, Naruto noticed a flicker of movement from the kaiju. It wasn't just angry, it was calculating. It was preparing to unleash a counterattack. "Sakura, look out!" he yelled. But it was too late. The kaiju unleashed a massive roar that sent shockwaves through the air, knocking Sakura off course. She crashed into the ground, narrowly avoiding the creature's tail as it swept across the area, uprooting trees and sending debris flying. Sakura grunted as she landed hard. "I'm fine. Just a little shaken." "Focus, everyone!" Naruto shouted, regaining his composure. He could feel the adrenaline surging through him, a mix of fear and excitement driving him forward. "Kage, let's take it up a notch." With renewed determination, Naruto concentrated, feeling the dark energy of Kage coursing through him. "Merge our powers." Shadow transformation. As they merged, a massive shadow surged from Kage, enveloping Naruto and transforming him into a dark, kaiju-like version of himself, with enhanced strength and speed. He felt the immense power within him, the darkness merging with his own chakra to create something truly extraordinary. "Let's go!" he roared, charging at the kaiju once more, fists crackling with energy. This time, he was ready. The kaiju responded with a fierce swipe of its claws. But Naruto dodged to the side, using Kage's agility to evade the attack. He countered with a powerful punch to the creature's jaw, sending it reeling back. "Keep it distracted," Naruto shouted. "I'll go for a finishing blow." Sasuke and Sakura quickly regrouped, launching coordinated attacks to keep the kaiju off balance. Sasuke used his fire jutsu to create a ring of flames around the kaiju, forcing it to shift its focus away from Naruto. Meanwhile, Sakura utilized her strength to land heavy blows on the creature's legs, attempting to weaken it. But as Naruto charged in for the final strike, he felt an unsettling shift in the air. The kaiju's eyes locked onto him with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. It was as if it was calculating his next move. "Now!" Sasuke shouted, forming another series of hand signs. Lightning style. Lightning blade. The kaiju roared in fury, turning its attention to Sasuke just as Naruto closed the distance. Seizing the opportunity, Naruto summoned all of his power. Shadow smash. With a thunderous impact, Naruto brought his fist down upon the kaiju, connecting with a force that sent shockwaves through the ground. The kaiju howled in agony, staggering backward. But it wasn't finished yet. It unleashed a torrent of energy, a shockwave that sent Naruto and his friends flying. Naruto hit the ground hard, the impact rattling him. He looked up to see the kaiju charging up for a devastating attack, its scales glowing ominously. "Everyone, get back!" Sakura yelled, trying to shield the civilians with her own chakra. "No!" Naruto shouted, fighting against the pain. He had to act quickly. "Kage, we need to finish this now. Channel our energy together," Kage instructed, its voice resonating in his mind. "Focus on the core of the kaiju. That's where its strength lies." Naruto nodded, determination flooding through him. He felt the darkness swirling within him, mingling with his own chakra. With every ounce of strength, he channeled their combined energy into one powerful attack. "Kaiju pulse!" he yelled, a massive wave of dark energy radiating from him, aimed directly at the kaiju's core. The pulse struck true, a blinding flash illuminating the battlefield as it connected with the kaiju. The creature screeched in agony, its form convulsing as the energy coursed through it, disrupting its very essence. With one final, desperate roar, the kaiju exploded in a dazzling display of light and shadow, dissipating into nothingness. The ground shook, and Naruto braced himself against the force of the blast. When the light faded, silence fell over the battlefield. Naruto lay on the ground, panting, his heart racing with adrenaline. He had done it. They had defeated the kaiju. Sasuke and Sakura rushed to his side, their faces filled with relief. "You okay, Naruto?" Sakura asked, concern etched on her face. Yeah, I'm fine, he replied, a grin breaking through his exhaustion. We did it. As they took a moment to catch their breath, Naruto looked around at the villagers, who had gathered to witness the aftermath. They cheered, their faces filled with gratitude and awe. You saved us, one villager called out, tears of relief streaming down their face. Naruto felt a swell of pride. This was why he fought, to protect the people he cared about. Thank you, he shouted back, raising his fist in the air. We'll always protect this village. But just as they began to celebrate, a chilling wind swept through the area, carrying a sense of foreboding. Naruto turned, the hair on the back of his neck standing on end. In the distance, he could see shadows gathering, a sign that the battle was far from over. Stay alert, everyone, Sasuke warned, his Sharingan scanning the horizon. This isn't over yet. Naruto's heart sank as he realized the truth in Sasuke's words. Akuma's warning echoed in his mind. They had won this battle, but a greater threat loomed on the horizon. Let's regroup and prepare for whatever comes next, Naruto said, determination burning in his eyes. We're ready for them. As Naruto and his friends took a moment to catch their breath, the atmosphere grew heavier with an unsettling tension. The defeated kaiju lay in remnants, but the air was charged with anticipation, as if the very world around them sensed a deeper threat. Did anyone else feel that? Sakura asked, her voice low. She glanced nervously toward the horizon, where dark clouds began to gather, swirling ominously as if responding to an unseen force. I felt it, Sasuke replied, his Sharingan still active, scanning the surroundings. It's like something's watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling the adrenaline still coursing through him. We can't let our guard down. We need to regroup and strategize. Whatever's coming next, we'll face it together. Let's get back to the village and warn the others, Sakura suggested, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. As they made their way back to the village, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every rustle of leaves and every whisper of the wind felt like a reminder of the unseen enemy lurking in the shadows. He recalled Akuma's warning. A darkness beyond comprehension was approaching. Back in the village, upon reaching the village, Naruto was met with a mixture of relief and concern. The villagers had begun to gather, their faces marked by fear and confusion. Is it over? An elder asked, trembling. Is the kaiju defeated? Yes. But we need to remain vigilant, Naruto assured them. There's a bigger threat out there, and we have to prepare for whatever comes next. Just then, a commotion erupted at the edge of the village. Naruto and his friends turned to see a group of shinobi rushing toward them, their expressions grim. Report, Naruto commanded, stepping forward. A series of kaiju have appeared near the border of the Land of Fire, one of the shinobi said, panting heavily. They're different from what we faced. More organized and aggressive. It seems they're working together. What do you mean, working together? Sakura asked, her brow furrowing with concern. It's like they're being controlled or guided by something, the shinobi explained, catching his breath. We need all available shinobi to defend the village. This could be the beginning of an all-out assault. Naruto's heart sank. We can't let them reach the village. We'll have to set up defenses and prepare for battle. Sasuke stepped forward, a serious expression on his face. We need to find out who or what is behind this. There's got to be a reason these kaiju are attacking. I'll go scout the area, Naruto said, his resolve hardening. Kage, let's go. Right. Kage's voice echoed in Naruto's mind as he summoned its form. The dark figure surged around him, ready for action. The outskirts of the village as Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura headed toward the outskirts. The tension in the air grew thicker. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, a constant reminder of the impending danger. I'll keep an eye on the perimeter, Sasuke said, his Sharingan scanning the area. If I spot anything, I'll signal you. Be careful, Sakura warned. We don't know what we're dealing with. Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. We'll find out soon enough. With Kage at his side, Naruto darted forward, sensing the pulsating energy of the kaiju in the distance. The further he traveled, the more he could feel the chaotic energy surrounding him. a mix of fear and anger that hung heavily in the air. Suddenly, Naruto paused, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. "Cage, do you feel that?" "Yes," Cage replied, its form flickering as it absorbed the surrounding energy. "There's a concentration of kaiju energy ahead. It's unlike anything we've encountered before. Let's move." Naruto shouted, propelling himself forward. The heart of the darkness. As they approached the heart of the disturbance, the landscape began to change. The trees grew twisted and blackened, their leaves withering as if life itself was being drained from the area. In the distance, Naruto spotted a massive silhouette against the darkening sky. A towering figure surrounded by lesser kaiju, each one more monstrous than the last. "There it is," Naruto exclaimed, pointing toward the figure. "That must be the one controlling them. Let's move in," Cage urged, its voice low and steady. Naruto nodded, charging forward with Cage at his side. As they drew closer, he could see the towering figure more clearly. It was colossal, with jagged edges and a presence that radiated malice. Its eyes glowed like burning coals, surveying the chaotic scene with a sense of satisfaction. "Stay behind me," Naruto instructed as they approached the kaiju, now fully aware of the danger. "Not so fast, little shinobi," a voice echoed from the creature. It was deep and resonant, sending a chill down Naruto's spine. "You have come to witness your end. What do you want?" Naruto shouted, determination fueling his voice. "Why are you attacking the village?" The kaiju let out a deep, rumbling laugh. "The village is but a stepping stone. I am the harbinger of chaos, and I will reign over this land. The kaiju serve me. Their power is my power." Naruto's fists clenched. "I won't let you destroy my home or my friends." "Foolish child," the harbinger taunted. "You think you can stop this? Your power pales in comparison to the might I command." With that, the harbinger raised its hand, summoning the lesser kaiju around it. They surged forward, a tide of monstrous creatures ready to overwhelm Naruto. "Let's do this, Cage," Naruto shouted, channeling his energy into Cage. "We're not backing down." Cage morphed into a massive shadowy beast, ready for battle. "We will fight together." As the first wave of kaiju charged, Naruto felt the rush of adrenaline and the bond he shared with Cage. This was their moment to prove themselves, not just as a shinobi, but as a protector of their world. "Shadow Wave," Naruto yelled, unleashing a torrent of dark energy toward the oncoming kaiju. The wave crashed into the first line of creatures, knocking them back. The battle had begun, and as chaos erupted around him, Naruto knew this was only the beginning of a fight that would test everything he had learned, everything he had fought for. The chaotic battlefield erupted into a maelstrom of sound and fury as Naruto unleashed the Shadow Wave, a torrent of dark energy that crashed into the first line of lesser kaiju. The wave sent several of them sprawling, their monstrous forms colliding with one another in a tangled heap of limbs and scales. "Keep pushing forward, Cage," Naruto shouted, feeling the power of his shadowy partner surge through him. He could sense Cage's energy melding with his own, amplifying his strength and speed. The bond they shared had never felt stronger. The remaining kaiju hesitated for a moment, caught off guard by Naruto's sudden onslaught. But as they regained their composure, they howled in anger, charging toward him with renewed fury. "The battle intensifies, here they come," Cage warned, its voice resonating in Naruto's mind. Prepared to defend, Naruto focused, ready to channel his power once more. "Let's go!" Shadow Barrage. He extended his arms, summoning multiple shadowy fists to launch at the advancing kaiju. The dark projectiles struck with precision, sending several of the beasts tumbling backward, their cries of pain echoing in the air. But the harbinger of chaos was not idle. It surveyed the battle with a twisted sense of amusement, its eyes gleaming with malice. "You think you can defeat my minions so easily? You are a fool." With a powerful motion, the harbinger raised its hand, summoning dark energy that twisted and coalesced into a massive sphere above it. The sphere pulsed with chaotic energy, crackling with raw power. "Feel the wrath of true darkness. Watch out," Naruto yelled, diving to the side as the sphere shot forward, a bolt of dark energy racing toward him. He barely managed to roll out of the way, the blast slamming into the ground where he had stood, creating a massive crater and sending debris flying. Is that all you've got? Naruto taunted, determination fueling his words. Kage, let's give it everything we have. Understood. Kage responded, its form shifting and expanding. It loomed over Naruto, a colossal shadow ready to unleash chaos of its own. Shadow Titan. As Kage transformed, its power radiated outward, enveloping Naruto in an aura of darkness. He felt the surge of energy flow through him, revitalizing his spirit and filling him with newfound strength. A fiery resolve, fire style. Phoenix Fire Jutsu. Sasuke's voice rang out, interrupting the chaos. He appeared on the scene, launching a barrage of fireballs at the kaiju. The flames crackled and danced through the air, striking several of the lesser kaiju and forcing them back. Great timing, Sasuke. Naruto shouted, a grin breaking through the tension. Now we can really turn the tide. Sakura joined them, her fists glowing with green chakra. I'm here too. Let's finish this. With their combined forces, the trio launched a coordinated attack against the kaiju horde. Sasuke's fireballs illuminated the battlefield, while Naruto and Kage unleashed waves of shadowy energy, scattering the lesser kaiju in every direction. The harbinger roared in frustration, its eyes narrowing as it watched its minions falter. You think you can defy me? I will crush you all? With a sweep of its arm, the harbinger unleashed a torrent of dark energy toward Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. The blast was immense, dark and swirling with malevolence, threatening to engulf them. Kage, now! Naruto yelled, channeling all of his power into a defensive move. Shadow Barrier. Kage responded, expanding to form a massive shield of darkness around the trio. The dark energy collided with the barrier, sending shockwaves through the air. But Kage held firm, absorbing the brunt of the attack. Keep pushing. We can't let it win. Sakura shouted, her voice filled with determination as she struck at the lesser kaiju that had regrouped. With the distraction created by Kage's barrier, Naruto seized the moment. We need to find the harbinger's weakness. It can't keep this up forever. Look at its core. Sasuke pointed, his Sharingan focusing on the harbinger's chest. That glowing orb. If we can hit that, we might be able to weaken it. Let's do it. We'll hit it with everything we've got. Naruto rallied his friends, feeling the thrill of the impending battle surge within him. A coordinated assault, on 3. Naruto counted down. 1, 2, 3. Sasuke unleashed a barrage of lightning-infused shuriken, aiming for the harbinger's core, while Sakura charged forward, her fists glowing with chakra, ready to strike. Naruto gathered his energy, focusing the dark power of Kage into a concentrated blast. Dark Pulse. Naruto shouted, unleashing the blast toward the harbinger. The attacks converged on the harbinger's core simultaneously. The impact was explosive. The ground shook beneath them as the dark energy and elemental attacks collided with the kaiju's chest, creating a shockwave that knocked the lesser kaiju off their feet. The harbinger howled in pain, staggering backward, its glowing core flickering ominously. You dare to challenge me? It bellowed, rage echoing in its voice. Now, while it's weakened, Naruto yelled, charging forward with Kage. Let's finish this. As they closed in, the harbinger retaliated, thrashing wildly. You think this is over? I will not fall so easily. But Naruto felt a surge of determination. They had come too far to back down now. Kage, let's merge. One last push. Shadow Convergence. Kage roared, merging its essence with Naruto's. The final strike in an explosion of darkness. Naruto transformed into a colossal figure, a fusion of his own power and Kage's might. He felt invincible as he towered over the harbinger, who had momentarily halted, stunned by the sheer scale of the attack. This is for everyone you've hurt. Naruto shouted, raising his fist high, crackling with dark energy. Shadow Smash. With a monumental swing, he brought his fist down toward the harbinger's core. Time seemed to slow as the fist descended, a testament to their combined resolve. The impact was monumental. The air erupted with energy as the harbinger was engulfed in the explosion of darkness and light. The ground shook violently, sending tremors through the battlefield, and the cries of the lesser kaiju faded into the chaos. As the dust settled, Naruto stood amidst the remnants of the battle, breathing heavily, his heart racing with adrenaline. "Did we do it?" Sasuke asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Naruto looked around, scanning the battlefield for any sign of the harbinger. "I think so, but we need to stay alert. It could be playing possum." But as they stood together, a wave of relief washed over them. The dark energy in the air began to dissipate, and the ominous shadows that had loomed over the battlefield faded. Aftermath. The villagers emerged cautiously from their hiding places, their expressions filled with a mix of fear and hope. "Is it over?" one villager called out, her voice trembling. "Yes," Naruto shouted back, raising his fist in triumph. "We've defeated the harbinger of chaos." Cheers erupted among the villagers, their spirits lifting as they began to realize the danger had passed. Sakura and Sasuke joined Naruto, their expressions filled with relief. "We did it, Naruto," Sakura said, her eyes shining with pride. "You really stepped up." "Yeah, we all did," Sasuke added, nodding. It was a team effort. But just as they began to celebrate, a chilling wind swept through the area, causing everyone to pause. A dark figure loomed on the horizon, silhouetted against the fading light. "No," Naruto whispered, dread pooling in his stomach. From the shadows, another kaiju emerged, larger and more imposing than the last. Its eyes glowed with a familiar malice, and its roar echoed through the land, signaling that the battle was far from over. "We've only just begun," the dark figure taunted, its voice deep and sinister. "The true chaos is yet to come." The dark figure loomed larger with each passing moment, its presence suffocating. The villagers fell silent, a palpable fear washing over them as they grasped the implications of the new kaiju's arrival. "Is that another one?" Sasuke murmured, eyes narrowed as he scanned the colossal creature. The air was thick with tension as everyone braced for the impending confrontation. "Not just another one," Naruto said, his voice steady but laced with concern. "That one feels different. It's more powerful." The kaiju's eyes gleamed with a malevolent intelligence, and as it took a step forward, the ground trembled beneath its weight. Its form was reminiscent of the harbinger but far more terrifying, adorned with jagged scales and glowing runes that pulsed with dark energy. "You dare to celebrate your victory so soon?" the kaiju boomed, its voice reverberating through the air like rolling thunder. "I am the true harbinger of chaos." Kaiju Note 9. I have come to finish what my predecessor began. An uneasy alliance. Naruto exchanged glances with Sakura and Sasuke. "We can't let it gain any more power. We need to stop it before it can wreak havoc on the village. Let's combine our attacks again," Sasuke suggested, his Sharingan blazing with determination. "If we can hit it with everything we've got, we might have a chance." "Agreed," Sakura nodded, her fists clenched. "But we need a solid strategy. This thing is different from the harbinger." Before they could finalize their plan, Kaiju Note 9 laughed, a sound that sent chills down their spines. "You think you can defeat me with mere tactics? I thrive on chaos. Your fear only strengthens me." Naruto clenched his fists, anger flaring within him. "We won't let you destroy our home cage. Let's show this monster what we're made of." Shadow fusion. Kage's voice boomed, merging once more with Naruto, amplifying his strength and fortifying their bond. The darkness around Naruto thickened, swirling like a storm, preparing for battle. A clash of titans. Kaiju Note 9 charged forward, its massive limbs pounding the ground. With a single swipe of its claw, it sent a shockwave rippling through the air, forcing Naruto and his friends to dodge the oncoming attack. "Fire style. Great fireball jutsu," Sasuke shouted, launching a blazing inferno toward the advancing monster. The flames engulfed Kaiju Note 9. But the kaiju merely roared in defiance, its form shrouded in a veil of dark energy that absorbed the attack. "It won't work. We need something stronger," Sakura cried, dodging another swipe. "Let me handle this," Naruto yelled, his voice filled with determination. He concentrated, feeling the darkness within him surge as Cage empowered his body. Dark convergence. As he unleashed the attack, shadows converged from all around, forming a massive sphere of energy that crackled with dark power. The sphere expanded, swirling violently before launching itself at Kaiju no 9. The Kaiju was momentarily caught off guard, but it quickly retaliated, raising its massive claw to intercept the attack. The two forces collided in an explosion of energy that sent shockwaves through the battlefield. "Keep it distracted," Naruto shouted, focusing on his next move. "Sasuke, Sakura, aim for its legs." They nodded, each launching their respective jutsu. Sasuke used lightning shuriken, while Sakura summoned a flurry of cherry blossom petals infused with chakra. The combination of their attacks struck Kaiju no 9's legs, staggering the creature and causing it to falter. Desperation sets in, but the Kaiju roared in anger, retaliating with a shockwave that sent Naruto and his friends sprawling. "You think you can defeat me? I am chaos incarnate." As they struggled to regain their footing, the Kaiju began to absorb the remnants of the battlefield, dark energy swirling around it as it fed off the destruction. "No? It's getting stronger," Sasuke yelled, realizing the threat. "We can't let it absorb any more power," Naruto shouted, scrambling to his feet. "Cage, we need to push harder. We can't allow it to regain its strength." "Understood? Shadow expansion," Cage responded, enveloping Naruto in a cloak of darkness that amplified his energy. Feeling the surge of power, Naruto prepared for one last attack. "Everyone, gather your energy. We'll unleash everything we have at once." The final assault. Sasuke and Sakura nodded, rallying their chakra as Naruto focused on the darkness within him. "Rasengan," he shouted, molding the energy into a swirling sphere in his hand. Feeling Cage's power amplify it. "Chidori," Sasuke called out, charging his own attack. "Cherry Blossom Impact," Sakura added, preparing to deliver her own powerful strike. "Let's go." Naruto rallied, feeling the connection between them solidify. On 3. 1. 2. 3. The three friends launched their attacks in unison, a spectacular display of elemental fury and shadowy power converging on Kaiju no 9. The combined assault struck the Kaiju with incredible force, enveloping it in a blinding explosion of energy. Silence falls as the dust settled. The battlefield fell eerily quiet. The three shinobi stood together, their hearts pounding, anticipation hanging thick in the air. "Did we get it?" Sakura asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Wait. Don't let your guard down yet," Sasuke cautioned, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of the Kaiju. Suddenly, a low growl emanated from the smoke, and Kaiju no 9 emerged, battered but not defeated. Its glowing runes flickered ominously, and a wicked smile curled across its lips. "You think you can defeat me so easily? I will not fall. I am the chaos that binds this world." A new threat emerges. The Kaiju roared, unleashing a surge of energy that enveloped the battlefield once more. Shadows thickened, and the air crackled with tension, the very fabric of reality seeming to twist under its power. "Get back," Naruto shouted, pushing Sasuke and Sakura away as he stepped forward, determination burning in his eyes. "I'll hold it off. You guys get the villagers to safety? Are you crazy?" Sasuke snapped, his eyes wide with disbelief. "We're not leaving you. There's no time. I can handle this," Naruto insisted, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Before they could argue further, Kaiju no 9 charged, its claws extended, aiming to finish what it started. "Shadow Guardian," Cage roared, forming a massive shield in front of Naruto, absorbing the Kaiju's assault. "Now," Naruto shouted, channeling all his remaining energy into Cage. "We can't let it win." The final stand. With a surge of power, Naruto combined his strength with Cage, merging into an even more powerful form, Ultimate Shadow Smash. As he charged at Kaiju no 9, the energy around him intensified, and he felt an overwhelming surge of strength. He leapt into the air, focusing on the glowing core of the Kaiju, aiming to strike the final blow. This is for everyone you've hurt," he yelled, his voice echoing through the chaos. With a colossal punch, he aimed for the core, the impact reverberating through the battlefield as shadows enveloped them both. The explosion of energy illuminated the night, a blinding light that cut through the darkness and chaos. As the light faded, the battlefield lay in silence once more, the air still and heavy with anticipation. Aftermath and uncertainty. Naruto, exhausted and breathing heavily, stood amidst the remnants of their battle. But even as he surveyed the area, a feeling of dread settled in his stomach. "Did we do it?" Sakura asked, fear creeping into her voice. I think so," Naruto replied hesitantly. But doubt gnawed at him. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, and a low growl echoed from the shadows. "No!" Naruto shouted, his heart sinking. Emerging from the darkness was another figure, larger and more monstrous than before. A new embodiment of chaos that threatened to consume them all. "You think you can end chaos? You are merely its puppets?" The new kaiju bellowed, its eyes blazing with malevolence. Naruto exchanged a glance with Sasuke and Sakura, and in that moment, they all understood the weight of the challenge ahead. "We'll find a way to stop it," Naruto said firmly, determination igniting in his heart. "We can't give up now." As the sun began to rise on the horizon, casting light on the aftermath of their struggle, Naruto and his friends prepared to face the new threat. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, the ominous figure loomed larger against the glowing backdrop, casting an even darker shadow over the battlefield. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura stood shoulder to shoulder, their expressions a mixture of determination and unease. "We need to strategize," Sakura urged, her eyes darting between the new kaiju and her friends. "That thing looks even more powerful than Kaiju no. 9. Naruto took a deep breath, feeling the remnants of energy swirling within him, albeit diminished after the intense battle. "We've been through worse together. We just have to stay focused and united. Kage, can you still support us?" "Of course." Kage's voice resonated within Naruto, full of unwavering resolve. "But we need to tap into our combined strengths. We have to find a weakness in its defense." Sasuke narrowed his eyes, analyzing the new kaiju. "It's likely it'll be arrogant, just like the others. If we can bait it into a reckless move, we might find an opening. Then let's draw it out," Naruto exclaimed, adrenaline surging through him as he stepped forward. "I'll take the lead." The clash begins again. The colossal kaiju roared, the sound reverberating through the air, a primal declaration of its intent. "You think you can face me? I am the embodiment of chaos. I thrive in destruction." Naruto clenched his fists, drawing strength from the bond with his friends. "We've faced chaos before, and we won. Let's show this thing what teamwork means." As he charged forward, he felt Kage's energy resonate within him, amplifying his speed and strength. "Rasengan!" he shouted, channeling the energy into his palm as he aimed for the kaiju's midsection. Sasuke followed suit, unleashing a barrage of lightning-infused shuriken. Chidori Senbon. The needle struck the kaiju, distracting it momentarily as Naruto closed the distance. Sakura didn't waste the opportunity. Cherry Blossom Impact. She launched her petals at the kaiju's eyes, creating a blinding distraction that bought Naruto a precious moment. Finding the weakness, the kaiju howled in frustration, swiping at the petals and Naruto simultaneously. "You will pay for your insolence." Naruto felt the rush of wind as the kaiju's claw barreled toward him. But he was faster. With Kage's power enhancing his reflexes, he dodged to the side and struck the kaiju's side with his Rasengan. The energy detonated on impact, sending ripples through its massive form. "Now, Sasuke!" Naruto yelled, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Fire style. Phoenix Fire Jutsu." Sasuke called out, launching a stream of fire toward the kaiju's exposed flank. The flames licked at its hide, causing the creature to stagger back in pain. "Keep pushing," Sakura shouted, rallying her own chakra. "We need to break its momentum." A tides turn as the kaiju reeled from their combined assaults. It let out an earth-shaking roar, shaking the ground beneath their feet. "Fools! You think you can harm me? I will annihilate you," the kaiju retaliated, unleashing a wave of dark energy that surged toward Naruto and his friends. Chaos Blast! Get down! Naruto shouted, leaping in front of Sasuke and Sakura. Cage! Protect us! Cage enveloped Naruto in a shield of darkness, absorbing the brunt of the attack. The energy exploded around them, sending debris flying in every direction. Is it working? Sakura gasped, her eyes wide as they crouched behind the shield. I can feel its energy waning. Naruto replied, determined to push through. If we keep this up, we can win. As the dust began to settle, the kaiju staggered, panting heavily. You will regret this. Regaining momentum with renewed energy, the trio regrouped. Now's our chance. We need to go all out. Sasuke urged, adrenaline coursing through him. Let's finish this. Naruto declared. Cage, let's unleash everything. Ultimate Shadow Convergence. Cage responded, merging with Naruto and amplifying their energy to its peak. Sasuke prepared his strongest attack. Chidori! He shouted, charging the lightning in his hand, ready to unleash a devastating blow. Sakura focused her energy, her chakra flaring. Sakura Blossom Barrage! She cried, sending a flurry of enhanced petals at the kaiju to create an opening. The final showdown with their combined might. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura launched their attacks in unison. Now! Naruto shouted, channeling Cage's energy into a massive shadowy sphere. Rasengan! The combined attacks struck the kaiju directly, the impact reverberating through the air, sending shockwaves through the ground. The creature staggered back, letting out a guttural roar, its eyes wide with shock and fury. No! I will not be defeated by you. Kaiju no 10 screamed, desperately trying to maintain its footing. Naruto felt the energy surge within him. And with a final push, he focused all his strength into a singular, overwhelming force. This ends now. Ultimate Shadow Smash. The energy exploded, engulfing the kaiju in a blinding light. The darkness that surrounded it was obliterated, and in that moment, time seemed to freeze. Silence again as the light faded. The battlefield fell into an eerie silence. The air was thick with tension as the trio stood together, watching for any sign of the kaiju. Did we? Sakura began, her breath catching in her throat. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the remnants of the battlefield. No. Sasuke whispered, disbelief coloring his voice. From the dissipating smoke, Kaiju no 10 staggered, battered but still standing. Its form flickered with dark energy, but there was an unsettling strength in its eyes. You think you can rid this world of chaos? You are mistaken, it bellowed, its voice filled with rage. I will not fall. The unseen threat, but before they could react, another wave of dark energy surged from Kaiju no 10, and the ground trembled violently beneath them. It was drawing power from the destruction, feeding off the chaos of the battlefield. We need to stop it from gathering more energy. Naruto shouted, his heart racing. We can't let it grow stronger. Just as they prepared for another round of attacks, the kaiju roared, and the ground split open, revealing dark tendrils that slithered forth, writhing like serpents. What is that? Sakura screamed, stepping back in fear. I don't know, but we need to fight back. Naruto said, his voice firm. We can't let it overwhelm us. As the tendrils lunged toward them, they each prepared to unleash their powers once more. A united front. Sakura, keep the tendrils at bay. Sasuke commanded, his Sharingan activated as he prepared to intercept any strikes. I got this. Sakura replied, channeling her chakra to create a protective barrier around them. Blossom Shield. The tendrils crashed against her barrier, but she held her ground. We can't let them touch us. Naruto, focus on the kaiju. Sasuke urged, darting in and out, striking the tendrils with precision. We can't let it pull us in. Cage, merge with me again. Naruto shouted, feeling the energy within him surge. Understood. Cage replied, enveloping Naruto in shadows once more. With a determined scream, Naruto unleashed a wave of shadow energy toward Kaiju no 10, pushing against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. This is for all those who have suffered. He roared, the energy swirling around him. The conclusion of chaos as the energy connected. It erupted in a brilliant flash, illuminating the battlefield once more. The kaiju howled in agony, its form flickering as it struggled against the assault. It's weakening. Keep going. Sasuke shouted, channeling his chakra into a powerful thrust of lightning toward the kaiju. Now, Sakura. Naruto yelled, his heart pounding with urgency. Unleash everything you have. For the village. Sakura cried, channeling her energy into a final surge of petals that merged with Naruto and Sasuke's attacks. Together, their combined power formed a colossal energy wave that crashed into Kaiju Note 10, enveloping it in a maelstrom of light and shadow. Aftermath. As the dust settled, silence returned to the battlefield, and the three stood together, panting heavily. They felt an overwhelming weight lift as Kaiju Note 10's form disintegrated into shadowy particles, leaving nothing behind. Did we? Sakura whispered, disbelief flooding her voice. Naruto looked around, taking in the quiet. I think we did it. We really beat it. Let's not celebrate just yet. There may be more coming, Sasuke cautioned, glancing around warily. Agreed. We need to regroup and make sure everyone is okay, Naruto replied, trying to catch his breath. As they began to move, a sense of unease settled in the pit of Naruto's stomach. He couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over yet, that something darker lurked on the horizon.